Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an object show fan that has barely watched any object shows. We have to fix that. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome into Object Catchup, the series where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they're new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, for today, we will be adding a new show into the list because a pretty big object show has actually released an episode the other day. So, GOEFAV, or Gameshow of Extreme Fun and Violence, is a show that had one episode, but it was quite a popular one, created by ShatteredWaters. Yeah, it released 1 year ago and it was half an hour long. And well, yesterday, episode 2A released and also half an hour long. So today's main topic is going to be that. And then hopefully we can drop in some other stuff on top as well. However, this will be the main course. Alright, I do not know much about this. But ShatteredWaters is a creator with about 9.7k subs. They have created a bunch of shows in the past. However, this is the current one. Of course, I mean, the first episode was over a year ago, which means that this stuff has been in production for a while. I guess we will see how that turns out in due time. But let's start off here with the original episode 1 that got people into it. It is titled Going Ballistic. Let's watch it. Let's talk about it. Let's have our discussion. Alright, that is episode 1 of GOEFAV, or Game Show of Extreme Fun and Violence. And holy, okay, there is a lot that happens in this episode. It is 29 minutes for a damn good reason. So, the basic pitch goes that a movie millionaire celebrity actor laundry pod, alright, is has cleared their schedule to do acting for a big blockbuster film. However, this big blockbuster film did not have the funding to keep going, which means that they had to cancel the film. So that means that now Laundry Pod is bored, is bored, has a lot of time on their schedule, a lot of money that they need to use because they feel like it, and they just need something to do. So they decide to host a competition show. That's right. They decide to host a big game show featuring everybody. There was a casting calls out to the entire city. We got to see everybody in their native locations, right? Such as out of town, in their homes, everywhere pretty much, find the leaflet that invited them to the competition, so they all ended up joining. And then we end up having everybody meet up at a abandoned hotel that got rebranded. It was called, what was it called? The Eclipse Hotel. Yeah, it eventually got rebranded for its functionality as a suite for the contestants. The contestant count of 81! 81 contestants in this show. Oh my golly gosh. Okay, wow, okay, so, yeah, this obviously becomes the main talking point by automatic factor with the show, right? It's the object show with 81 contestants. As far as the big shows go, in terms of, over 100,000 views, I believe that this one, at least as far as I'm aware, should probably now be taking the cake for most contestants in any big production. 81, which surpasses what ends up being the 64 or 65 that BFB ends up having, right? If you count profiling, I guess. So the account ends up being overshadowed even more by something like this, okay? So then the question arrives, is it possible to make an object show with 81 contestants in it? So, the answer is Probably not. Let's be absolutely honest here. So, the way that the show is listed off as working is there's 9 teams of 9, alright? And then in these 9 teams of 9, what is going on is we end up having 3 teams go up for elimination every time. That means that we will have 3 people eliminated, and 3 people eliminated, and 3 people eliminated, and apparently it'll do that a lot until eventually it goes down to 2 eliminations, and then after it goes down to 2 eliminations, it will eventually go down to 1 elimination. So that is how the system is supposed to work. Now, how many episodes what that is, it's impossible to know, because of course it's impossible to know when the split from triple elimination to double elimination would be. I would probably predict that it'd be around the 32 range. That would be, I don't know, like the freaking, let's say it's like 4 episodes, then it'd be like, hold on, I'm trying to calculate this. It'd be like 6, 9, God, 12, 15. It'd be like 19, 20 episodes to get to 32. And then afterwards, maybe it could switch to double elim. Then it does that until like the final 16, right? And then it would do that. That would be like 8 more episodes. That'd be 28, and then the single elim. Final 16, and then that would be like freaking 35. I don't know. That's like roughly the episode count that I'd reasonably expect, like 35 or something, which is ludicrous. I mean, that is like insanity. But the thing about it is having like 35 episodes. It's not okay. It's the type of number where it's like, okay, it's more than you'd want. However, it's still like okay in the sense of like, it's not like 100 episodes, not 80 episodes, right? Okay, sure. However, we gotta think about the detail that so far, episode 1 had a production time of over 1 year, as said by the outro, and episode 2 has had a production time from, its release a couple of days ago of a year and a half, which means that if we make a year per episode, that means that that means that if there's roughly 30 to 35 episodes, then the show will end at about 2056 to 2060, which, is wild. It's more than I would like to say is realistic for an object show to live for, right? And it's like, I know it's lame to go like, oh, yo, this show is not gonna happen, but like, I'm sorry, how is this show gonna happen? It's like, these shows, they all come, like, I'm sorry, these shows, okay, these animated battles, these BFBs, they all come in with like this pitch, alright? They go like, this show has 1 million characters or whatever, has 60 characters, right? And then we end up going, okay, so you have accepted a task that has a major downside to it. How do you plan to fix the downside? The plan is nothing. There is no plan. It's just literally impossible. This is losing it. It has decided to give, like, this show gives itself the worst possible hand to work with, in the sense of, like, it's trying to be good with 81 fucking contestants, which means it takes a long time to write, takes a long time to do every segment of production, because it's just hard, right? Like, yeah, and it's just the type of thing that's unfortunate, because it's like, especially with episode count, over a year. Like, that's so long for an episode, where it's like, I'm like, even the, like, if I'm imagining I'm gonna remember the characters, I'm about to watch episode 2, but did somebody who watched this remember the characters from this when they go look at the second episode now? It's been a year and a half. Like, it's just, and it's unfortunate, because, like, again, the show, very well animated, and I will say, the writing for this was pretty solid, okay? I'm not gonna lie. Especially, like, it did truly feel like, despite its contestant cast, it was expanding the scope of the video to match, right? So it's half an hour, because, yes, team forming takes longer because there's 81 people to sort out, right? The challenge is also pretty nice, because, you know, there's pretty long and lengthy because there's 81 people to sort out at the end of the day, right? And like I think 70 of them end up falling off. There's no team that solos, right? There's no team that just wins. Every team has a danger of falling off. So yeah, there's a couple of assistants that our host ends up having that ends up assisting in various capacities. I don't think we'll get to see much of them overall, but yeah, one of them is Lilypad, who ends up reading. The prize is $900,000. Not sure why it's not $1 million at that point, but yeah, $900,000. And we end up having the team picking get made. So, as usual, shout out to the UI graphics for the teams. I always think that those are massively helpful in keeping track of what the hell is going on. Yeah, I kind of wish that the challenge had it as well, because it kind of doesn't, and the platforms are all the same color. But yeah, okay, let me go over to the pick teams so that we can look at this team by team, all right? Because let's discuss the show here. So the first team is team name. So team name is comprised of the D20. Okay, let me look in order. Scissors, PC, the freaking drum thing that I don't remember what it's called, symbol, right? D20, beanie, the hamster ball, like a UV light, one of those, like, metronome. There's not a metronome, fuck. I forgot what its name is in English, where you can spin the pen around and it makes a circle. And then pomegranate. Okay, this team was formed because they were kind of just playing games. They were playing like Uno or something. They were playing like poker. They were like, yo, let's unite forces. We have our group. So this group is like kind of two groups in one. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can agree intra-group, like, from group to group. Man, I think they can do solid things. However, on average, they might have a little bit of a divide in how they actually want to do that. The next team is the Oddballs. So this team is picked by Ram to feature odd contestants so they can study them or whatever. So we end up having CRT monitor, weights, a music box, a printer, a triangle fella that doesn't move, a Rubik's Cube, who their eyes are just part of the cube, so they can face any direction, which is interesting. And then core. So yeah, this team, I mean, it's definitely odd. Ram did a good job of picking a proper set of oddballs here, because it really does feel different than the usual. However, it's I mean, it's kind of hard to know, because yes, the thing about these is that they are different than the usual, but not in a way where I can realistically understand, right? How is the music box going to have unique ability? I'm sure they do. Is the CRT monitor going to have unique things to do? I'm sure they do. Same thing goes with the weights, right? But these are characters which I know they all have unique traits to them, but I don't know them yet, right? So it's a wild card team. They might have a random solution to a random challenge, or they might not. It's kind of out there. Kind of like how in this challenge they had a random detail that we didn't know about that allowed them to be 100% safe, right? However, in a lot of cases that wouldn't be the case, right? So yeah. Then circuit board's name, the Agile Agitators. So this is the team created by the Diamond and dude, I don't what are these called? One of them's like a diamond and the other's like a ruby. No, I don't. They're two minerals, okay? So those two, I'll say circuit board, heart potion, the orb. Then we have a grape, a lantern, a magic wand, and a torch. This is probably one of the most random teams, because they just try to pick people who are good, and then didn't exactly have much of a reasoning to why. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I mean, there's a couple of people with interesting, mobility, where they have flying contestant, they have orb who can have interesting capabilities, they have a circuit board who's rather smart, magic wand who of course is magic, which is apparently not allowed sometimes, but yeah, the torch lamp, yeah, there's a lot of interesting abilities here, absolutely, that I can already tell. But that team would be pretty good at their job, I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of a fan. It's looking good for this team, I think, in my opinion. Then the next team ends up being called Garbage. So this is the team that was made by the music stand, to the thing that holds up the sheet music. for being strong competitors. They kind of just pick a bunch of lazy people though. So what is this? Geode, like tinfoil. The last pick thing, which I don't think I ever get to find out what the name of it is. I don't know what it is either. It's like what is that? I don't know. Like a screwdriver, a magic hat. Then we end up having a wooden board. I don't know what any of these things are. What is this? The one of them had okay, I don't know what these things are. But anyways, this team, don't really know much about it, but they seem to kind of collectively be lazy. There's a fella who likes to lead them, but is pretty poor at it. It doesn't have enough indicative. So, not looking too good for this team in the meantime. I'm kind of worried about them, to be honest. Right? Like, unless there's something that's going to inspire them to do things, which is not looking like it, they should lose some challenges pretty soon. Cafe Click. So, this is the team formed by Notes, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the music Notes. And this is the Power Friendship Express team, right? That will just try to have people who are nice and work along them. So they are having Pan Flute, who can fly for some reason. Why can the Pan Flute fly? That's I don't know. A keyboard, a coffee mug, like a friggin' participation award. No, not like just a kind of an award badge. It's like a graduation badge, whatever. A pillar, a basket, a laundry basket, a vinyl player, a record player, and whatever the hell that is. It's like a jar with things in it. That's going to be the Power Friendship team. However, they don't have a pre-established friendship. They're just people who are nice. So hopefully they can become friends. It kind of depends. I believe that this team is strong, just like how Power Friendship teams do pretty well. If they can, have a strong bond between them. However, that bond in this case needs to be constructed, right? So if it needs to be constructed, that means that we need screen time with them, which means that I don't know, it's gonna be kind of complicated to have initially. So they could struggle initially, but if they can get that bond, yeah. Then we have Team 2 names, or the Helpful Hands and Colorful Club, since they disagreed on the team name. We end up having, who do we end up having? So this team, this team gets formed by this rainbow egg, out of people who need help. Okay, so they end up picking Clipboard, who got kicked out of their team, then the floppy disk drive, who has no eyes, and the Ethernet, because mechanical minds would stick together. Sorry for the cutoff, I had to cough. And then alongside that, there's Hook and their boyfriend, who is like a hoodie, who doesn't even want to be here. Is that the only character we don't want to be here? There's like a color ball, like a bad bomb thing, Tao, and then an anchor who's pretty scared. They're kind of like the scared character that's, however, physically very strong. You'll see this in a bunch of shows. Okay. And then we have Team Expendable, created by Lotus Flower. Lotus Flower is kind of the weird team leader who is so weirdly, nonchalant about how weird they're being that they kind of just threaten other people into being in their team, and it works. We end up picking a bread thing, a dodecahedron, a string, a beanie, a beanbag, sorry, a glass, a battery, a USB who's gender fluid. That's all I know about them. And then a medicine who looks tired literally all of the time. We saw how Lotus Flower is very much so in charge of this team. This is the most in charge a team is, the Team Expendable over here, right? This team is Lotus Flower is very, very much so the leader. The teams is going to listen to her, there's a direct follow along that, yes, this is what is happening. Which is interesting. It is quite interesting because I don't really know how it's gonna go. It depends on if Lotus Flower's strategy is actually good in any capacity. However, they will follow Lotus Flower, at the very least. Then the team invented by a coin class featuring everything that's circular. So a coin class, a duo of a Canadian dollar and then a euro, and then we have a vinyl. Smoke detector, a birdhouse because there's a hole in it, an iPod player because the circular the freaking wheel that's on iPods, the ring light, and then we end up having a traffic light. So yeah, there's just a lot of circles. We don't know much about majority of their personalities, to be honest. To really know. However, I don't think this team should theoretically get along very well. So I think this team is probably going to be middle of the table. we're probably gonna lose like half the challenges, probably like a decent amount of them for sure. And then Paper Towel, the team formed by a very weird coconut fella that nobody really understands. However, they make a team of all foods, which means mango, a kiwi, avocado, pretzel, like a kiwi fruit or whatever it's called. Like, is that a mango? That's not a mango. That's a peach. Yes. Then that weird pastry. I don't know what it is. I'm sorry. And then a couple of other things who just so happen to be there. So 2 bottles. So like a water bottle, and then a flask, and then street lamp as well. Because why the hell not? They're called Paper Towel. This team, I feel like they have no idea what's going on this team. Like, nobody has any idea what they're supposed to do. You know, like, they're just kind of here. And they got a leader who doesn't lead. They got a leader who doesn't make sense. And there's nobody else who really realizes or cares enough. So, yeah, no, this team looks pretty screwed. I'm not gonna lie. And then, yeah, those are the 9 teams that end up getting made. So, yeah. In terms of writing, okay, so the thing about writing a large cast object show is that you don't have to imagine it as 81 contestants, right? You have to imagine it as 8 teams. Like, you don't have to imagine 64 contestants, you have to imagine it as 8 teams, right? Because it's much easier to write a team, like, it's much easier to imagine, because if you only have to deal with 8 things, that's much better, right? Than having to deal with, 9, so like for example in this case only having to deal with 9 teams much rather than having to deal with 81 individual people, right? So you have to think about it in that way. You have to think as if, like, what if the team was a character, right? And of course within the team there's the subsect of each character. However, for the moment you have to mainly think about the team as a unit, right? So yeah, and this does that pretty well by kind of keeping the teams all batched up together. And yeah, we end up having the team name, picking the name of the team, which is picking the name of the show, which is Game Show of Extreme Fun and Violence. Good job to them for actually sorting out a good name. And yeah, I'm surprised that there's no intro. No, there is intro. Sorry. I was surprised that there wasn't gonna be an intro. For a moment, because like. I remember I was like, yo, is there not going to be an intro to the show? But then I was like, oh, I guess it got 81 characters. But no, there is an intro, and it's actually pretty solid. I'm not going to lie, I got like absolute... Okay, I'm going to be 1,000,000% honest. I don't tend to look at how far we're into the video. So I just got like majorly baited when the intro started. Because the intro starts with credits. So I was like, wait, is the show over? But no, it's not. And then we end up having the challenge, which is 9-way dodgeball. So, people get to throw dodgeballs. If you fall off your platform, you'll each be on a platform. If you fall off your platform, you will be off. Flying contestants must stay within the boundary of the platform as well. And magic is also not allowed. They don't say it, but, you know. So, they end up doing that, and... if everybody is off your platform, that means that you are up for elimination. So, what do we think of this challenge? My personal opinion is that it's yet again, it's another thing where it's like, it gives itself a bad hand and works well. Right? Like, in the same way that having a show with 81 casts is a bad hand, but it writes it well. It's the same thing that goes on with this challenge. This is not a very great challenge, but it writes it pretty well, right? It does the best that it can. However, I don't think this is a great challenge. First of all, it's not fully original. I mean, like, dodgeball challenges have existed for quite a bit. It is famously, I believe, the first challenge of object overload, right? That's just like the balls get thrown, dodge them, right? So it's not like super original to have a dodgeball challenge. I don't think it's what you want to have either, because like, it ends up that in first episodes, right, you want to be able to show off the character. Like, you really need to introduce the characters, right? Like, you need to give us moments that we can allow the characters to shine, right? And this challenge doesn't do that, right? Because it's like, at the end of the day, there's not many decisions. Like, I think the first challenge is an object should nearly always, in my opinion, be a creative-based challenge. Because, like, at the end of the day, a team can't make that many decisions in this challenge, right? They can either throw the ball or not throw the ball, or make and choose to throw the ball at them, right? But there's not that many global decisions that have to be made, right? So there's nothing much that can show a personality of the characters, right? How they feel, how they want to act, right? Like, it works for a couple of teams. You know, I'm not saying that it doesn't work at all. A couple of teams still managed to get it shown off. How, like, you know, especially like Lotus Flower, right? Which I think ends up being probably the most memorable character, alongside Coconut, of like the team. But like of like the show in this first episode, I think those two stand out very well. I guess as well as Core. Technically, Core doesn't speak, but you know, by just kind of being an omnipresent thing. Yeah. So it doesn't end up that like the teams can't make too many unique decisions. And also it's not that there's not that much variance to it. Like at the end of the day, we end up seeing a total of 70 different moments where a character falls off, and it's not like it's that different each time. You know, like you see what I mean? Like it's not a very creative based challenge. Like I think for these challenges, like it's much better to have something like creatively driven, where each team can do something completely theirs, right? And that way they can show off their team's personality much more than this, which like I still don't know a lot of teams' personalities, right? Even despite this. So yeah, they end up doing, you know, just throwing. Like there's really not a lot to say here. Like you'd be surprised at how little there is to say about people throwing, especially since catching is not doesn't get somebody kicked out. D20 ends up losing their glasses, which of course those don't respawn, so that's gonna be interesting. Oh yeah, the D20 is quite upset. Then end up having stuff ends up happening, right? But yeah, things that I would have done is personally, I would have added the UI to the challenge as well, showing how many people are left on a team. Because it's just useful to know, especially in a zoom in shot. I'm not gonna lie. And in the meanwhile, I also I would have colored each platform different as well. You know, it's these types of tiny details that help differentiate team from team, right? Which I think is very important. Trying to differentiate team from team here. But yeah, no magic allowed. Magic 1 ends up getting disqualified for that, even though they couldn't have possibly known. Oh yeah, I mean, okay, technically we don't have 70 scenes of characters getting jumped off, because like freaking 20 of them just jump off themselves, or to just get kicked off by each other. Yes, great stuff. Trying to win $900,000, I'm just like jumping off. I give up. Okay, bro. But yeah, in general, I think that the best possible avenue for a team to do is definitely to just have somebody who is just specifically trying to be as hard to hit as possible, right? Like for example, what's a good tactic? If you're a super thin contestant, like I don't know, Ramchip, just lay down. You know, like at the end of the day, it's gonna be much harder for somebody to hit you, right? And especially even if they hit you, you're probably not going to get knocked off, right? Because it would have to be kind of like a sliding thing. It's hard for you to get hit off the platform if you're laying down and are super thin, right? Like no team does that, which kind of disappoints me, because like no team thought about it, right? But yeah, I call the team did pretty decently. Like Anchor ends up being a very strong base for their team, and the fact that they're the only contestant heavy enough to not actually get like deflected by the ball. However, that means that they are also too heavy for the platform, so they manage to fucking fall off the platform, right? Yeah, a lot of characters end up having some pretty sad falls, I'm not gonna lie, but at the end of it, because like, yeah, like, oh yeah, the notes falling off with the pillar and everything, there's good gags everywhere. There's there's the scene with the freaking iPod folding and then it's over by Kevin McLeod. Oh yeah, there's the scene of the friggin' Orb asking if the platinum fell out. You're not called platinum. I'm sorry. What is your name? I don't remember. It's just Diamond? Wait, hold on. I think you're Diamond. Yes, you're Diamond, but I don't know what the other one is. Whatever. But yeah, Diamond ended up chilling over with Orb, ended up being, oh yeah, I'm very okay with you. Okay, I'm sorry. Stop being weird. It's not time for this yet. But it's 81 characters. It's not time. We can't do this. But yeah, we end up discovering the revival system with the recovery tablet. So yeah, everybody ends up getting revived. And then we have the 3 teams that end up losing, okay? So the first team that ends up losing is Team Name, because they got trolled. I'm not gonna lie. Wait, hold on. What was the team that got trolled by the other team? I feel like it was this team. Yeah, no, it was this team. This team got Omega trolled by Lotus Flower, which is unfortunate. Then we have the Team Paper Towel. This team pissed off D20 in the meantime, which made all their team fall off. Pretzel tried to survive for a while, but yeah, I don't know, at a certain point it was over. And then the last team ended up being Cafe Click. Another thing that this challenge doesn't actually benefit that much to the global is that one of the important things about writing teams, right, instead of things, is that you can write a team to be safe. Alright, if you have a team to be safe, that means that they don't have to appear for the rest of the episode. And, like, think about it. If you have 81 contestants, you want to be able to focus on less of them, right? You want to have less of them be still a thing in your mind. So, if you have a challenge where a team's safe, right, just, like, immediately, then, like, for example, you know, like, I mean, it'd be bad for a team to be safe immediately. However, like, if a team's safe, you go from 81 to 72 characters that now need to be on your mind, right? Like, it's less, which means that it's usually better to have challenges where teams can be safe, because that way there's less total people that matter, right? Because a certain amount of teams safe. Meanwhile, in this is the opposite, right? Because this isn't first to do blank is safe. This is last to lose is safe. Last to lose is up for first to lose is up for Elam, which means that everybody's around, right? Like, everybody is still up at the end, you know, like every freaking thing. It still writes up characters by having them literally fall off. However, the teams are still, like, globally a thing, right? So I also don't think this is a great challenge for that reason. But yeah, again, it does a good job of running the challenge. It was enjoyable. I didn't talk too much about it because it's kind of difficult to talk about, you know, the more action-based things. Like, so in this moment, this character got hit, and then the other one got hit, and then Anchor rebounded, and then the character that threw the ball got hit. You know, like, it's not like there's not too much I can really say. But yeah, overall, I mean, like, I'm curious. I'm gonna be very curious to see if episode 2 is going to make strides to actually attempt to solve the freaking mission 1 billion problem that is the fact that this show is having a year of time between episodes and it wants to have 35 episodes, because at the end of the day, I'm sorry, you cannot make a show for 35 years. You just can't do it. It's just not a thing that you're going to do. Okay? Like, the likelihood of that being a thing that somebody can do in their life is so low. Like, it's so low. You know? Like, it probably wouldn't be good, realistically speaking. It wouldn't turn out good, a show like that. Right? So, in general, it's like, it's not what we need. Right? So, like, yeah, I'm going to be very curious to see if they do anything to try to lower the total time of show. I mean, the problem is, this 2A. 2A has released. It's not even done. Whatever. Okay, look, I have no idea what we're going to be seeing. However, I'm worried about it. I'm worried about this show quite a bit. Let's go episode 2A. Episode 2A, what the fuck's it called? It's called, Sorry, Lithium. Okay, Lithium. Sorry, Lithium. Let's go watch it. Let's go see what this show tries to do with its next half hour. Let's go. Alright, so that is episode 2A of GOEFAV, or the game show of extreme fun and violence. So, okay. Before we talk about the episode itself, we have to start at the end, okay? Because I'm going to start off with the ending note that gets given after the thank you for watching, because I want to get the technical aspect out of the way here first, okay? I did it for one. I tried to get the technical aspect out of the way because this episode is really good. I'm going to be 100% honest, really good. However, let's talk about this note for a moment, because we have to talk about, because at the end of the day, the most important discussion point for this show is unfortunately nothing to do with the show. It's everything to do with the technical aspect, because at the end of the day, this episode, it ending up at apparently over 1 hour, ends up with its completeness. It gets split off halfway right here at 2A. However, it will attempt to, it will be an over 1 hour episode, as the dude, and this is probably Animatic Battle is probably a big one. However, I believe this, as far as just not realizing the scale at which an episode, at which something is being worked on, this is probably the most catastrophic fail at seeing the scale of a project that I think I have seen in a very, very, very long time. Right, it's right up there with BFB needing 70 episodes in theory, and Animatic Battle having 3-year hiatus. This is there. This is right there, which is abysmal. Because it's one of those things where it's I don't, from an outside perspective, I don't know. It feels so clear. It feels so obvious looking at it, because it's kind of complicated. It's how did this not get clocked immediately? How? I'm sorry, you accidentally made an hour long. How long's this script, mate? How many pages? Did you just look at 200-page script and go, yep, this is good, don't need to do more refining on this? It's okay, I mean, I don't know. I really, really don't. So, the thing that happens here is absolutely just that situation. And in this challenge as well, you realize what the note says, that, this time we tried giving every team a lot of focus, which is impossible for shorter episodes. Yes, basically what I said earlier. You have to write out teams to make episodes that still focus on teams. However, kind of rule them out. However, still a short. You need to make a challenge where teams can be declared safe from the beginning, right? Which means that we can write out a team, meaning that they're just safe and are not relevant for this episode, okay? And that's okay because they're safe and we don't need to see them, right? Because at the end of the day, that is the primary that is the primary misunderstanding that goes on here, right? A team that is safe, we don't necessarily need to see. It's useful to see, of course, for the sake of having knowledge on the characters. However, if there's 81 of them, then we don't need to see it, right? And that is the primary thing, right? And this challenge, for example, it ends up being a pie baking contest. You have 2 hours to bake a pie. You can do anything, go anywhere, pretty much do anything, right? Which is, to be fair, it fixes one of the issues that I had with the previous challenge, that I said it wasn't freeing. The episode 1 challenge, it wasn't freeing enough for the teams, right? It didn't show off personality. This one will. It absolutely will show off personality and tactics and what each team does, to a solid degree. However, it also means that every team, all 9 teams, are still up for contention, and we're likely not going to know who's going to be a contender to win until every team is more than 70% of the way through the time, right? Because at the end of the day, majority of the pies are just gonna be done by the end, right? Pretty much. So in general, it's this is the most drawn out possible challenge in terms of having every team still need to be important, right? Which means that it is possibly the slowest humanly possible challenge to be written, and it's actually insane. It's just how I mean, when does this challenge start? This challenge starts at about 20 minutes, okay? This means that if the episode is an hour long, this is a solid like what? Probably 45-minute challenge. Like what the hell? You know, it's so much. It's so much. You know, like it's one of those things. It's actually insanity. Right? And yeah, I mean, I don't know what the like solution ends up being, but like at the end of the day, like I think that it's probably that. It's probably like I think that's what it's saying. Yeah, we need to like make challenges that just write out that write out teams pretty much, right? That a team can be safe immediately. Like that's just gotta be the challenges, and that way we can have like what 20-minute episodes. Probably, well, but I don't know, but it can be a 20-minute episode, because you see, did I just tell you the challenge starts at 20 minutes? There's 20 minutes of shit before the episode even starts, and it's great, it's amazing. That's the problem. It's like, you see, this is one of the issues that shows end up having as well, is that like, it's so hard to course correct here. Right, like it's kind of complicated, because how do you course correct from episode 3 onwards, right? Because like there's pretty much, okay, this is too good. Like that's literally the issue. This is too much good content that it physically cannot exist in a fast enough time. So from future on, the show has to get worse. It literally has to get worse, which is the extreme complication, right? Because it's like, how does he do that without just feeling like it's fallen off, it's disappointed, it's not doing his job properly, right? Because like that's entirely the drama. Because like the challenges, you can sort them out. I think that you can like at least like absolutely, if the challenge is 40 minutes, you can definitely half the length of a challenge easily by just making a simpler challenge, right? Kind of like an episode 1 challenge. However, you know, and I think like, to be fair, the episode 1 challenge is the type of challenge that does go by pretty quickly, right? That is one of the things with it. Again, it didn't focus on the creativity. I think that there could be challenges that could go pretty quickly and also still focus on each team's individual creativity. However, to be fair to the episode 1 challenge, it did sort that out pretty well, right? But like in general, like you could definitely half down the time challenge. You're presuming that's like 40 minutes, right? Total, because we got to see like 20 minutes, of it here. No, we got to see like 10 minutes over here. We're gonna get to see like the other 40 there, like the other half hour in 2B, right? So if it's like 40 minutes, we can definitely like cut down to 20 minutes. Okay, sure. But at best, maybe even 15 if we lock in, right? Kind of like how the challenge in episode 1 was. Okay, but then it's like, what happens next? What happens at the situation here with the pre? Because like the thing about this is that this is like, it's like it's really good characterization, you know, like these early moments, they're really solid characterization, they really help, and they're really cute, dude. Lanterns is freaking not talking, but they just try to make their point that they want to be there by just sticking to pan flute as close as humanly possible. Like it's adorable, but like it's just complicated, right? Because that part, I feel like that's the part that kind of would hurt to lose, you know, because the challenge, you could just write a shorter challenge, but like this would be the part that would hurt the show, you know, losing this. But then it's like, but then we fixed the problem partially, you know. It's like because then we end up having like 20 minutes and then 20 minutes, which is still an average episode length of fucking 40. Like, it's so much. It's so much. How does it? Because I'm really just trying to think. I want to help this, at least like from my perspective. I want to at least try to imagine a method that this show doesn't just inevitably like still end up being too much shit. But it just is, man. How does it do it without like lowering? Like you can, like, yes, you can half the time probably, but like then you won't get the characterization. But then the problem is that like and remember, we're at the beginning. There's no arcs yet. Nothing has happened yet. In the grand scheme of things, the amount of things that have happened are so little to the amount of things that will have happened by episode 7, right? Like it's just because that's the problem. These parts will slowly get longer, right? Like, we're at the minimum possible state of them, and it's going to get worse. So how do you do this? Like, I don't know. Look, this is a puzzle that, as I said in episode 1, this show gives itself like the hardest possible hand to work with. You know, this is playing like 50-20 mode in freaking FNAF. Like, it is absolutely playing to the hardest possible standard, and it is expectedly encountering a lot of problems with trying to keep the standard while also functioning. All right, we'll see what happens. Because again, like, for example, like, I'm sure there is a solution. Okay, I trust that there is a solution, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like, well, I couldn't find it in 5 minutes of thinking. Okay, yes, here we've got literal year, okay, to try to invent methods for the show to not be infinite. However, like, so I have faith that there is. We just gotta see if we find it. We're gonna hope for the best, okay, in this case. Do I trust? I mean, from the fact that we've written a 1 hour episode as episode 2 already after episode 1 was half an hour long, it took over a year, I'm not sure if I'm 100% believing that we are gonna be finding these methods, but I can at least I can hope, okay? But yeah, okay, let's close off the chapter of discussing the show's current inevitable impossibility. What it current, like, at its current standard, it is inevitably impossible to make the show. However, if we discount that for a moment, let's actually talk about what we get to see in the episode itself. Okay, let's discuss that. So we start off here with as we said, Lantern, who's not happy with their team for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why. They never got really, like, I don't think they were ever shunned by their team that much. But either way, they just end up really wanting to join the other team by just sticking to Panfleet as closely as possible. And they end up accepting Lantern as an honorary member of their team, technically. They don't say anything to anybody. They don't like, because team swaps are theoretically not allowed, right? However, they're like, just like, yo, I mean, like, you didn't switch teams. You're just choosing to hang out with us rather than the other team, right? So like, you know, that's like, okay, right? So they end up taking them in as an honorary 10th member for the meantime, because Lantern doesn't really want to hang out with the Oddballs team or whatever team they're currently in. So that's fair. Then we end up having the auditorium where the music stand ends up trying to teach a lesson to the fellas over, as if it's a school class in the gymnasium, about how to function as a team, because they barely won. To be fair, every team barely won. There was no team that actually dominated, which it's a little bit complicated. You see, I wasn't a big fan of the writing decision, because it doesn't put any team on the map. You know, like, at the end of the day, every team ended up with a final one. Like, if, for example, there was a team that just locked in and had, like, 5 people on, like, that would make a name for the team, right? Like, there would be a dominant performance, but every team ended up performing the exact same, except the ones that lost, right? Which kind of puts still every team at a perfect neutral level, when I think having some teams be shown to be better than others at that challenge would have been way better, in my opinion. But either way, we end up like drama or whatever. So ends up saying that, yo, we need this respect, attention. You know, music stands really trying out here. However, the team just does not care. They did not form a very competent setting of a team. They get absolutely rage baited like 5 times over. And they end up dipping. We end up having ourselves the intro, which is, you know, it's an intro. And then overall, yeah. So the Coconuts team and the round chip team, so yes, the Oddballs and the Goofy and the Food team end up getting along, because of course they do. They're the 2 teams that were made for pretty bad reasons, and they end up kind of being like, yo, none of our team can swim, because none of the Oddballs can swim technically, although Rubik's Cube kind of can turn into arms, but they don't have legs, right? You know, the weights can't realistically swim. So then there's Lithium. Can Lithium swim? I don't know. They try to find out if Lithium can swim. Lithium says, I've been told I can't swim, but I don't know what happens if I try. So they end up trying, because the other fellas decide to do that. Marble Soda, which, by the way, definitely my favorite design. I like Cyan, though, so don't take that as face value. Then we end up having them go over and try, and then Lithium proceeds to die, because nope, Lithium apparently cannot touch water. Unfortunate. The other fellas eventually rush back to try to save them. Then we end up having the elimination ceremony start in just a couple of minutes. at the auditorium. So the auditorium ended up doing their whole shebang. We end up having the consistent gag of the keyboard falling. It happens about 4 times throughout the course of this episode. Which it's fun, you know. We're built like, I like it. It builds gags by itself, because at the end of the day, a show needs to have jokes as well, right? Like, while this show is doing a solid job in writing characters and doing, you know, it's writing a world pretty well. Like, more than it's writing characters, it's writing a world, right? Like, it probably feels like I'm looking at a world here. That's the best thing that it's doing. But yes, in this case, we end up having the keyboard falling, so it still needs to write gags, and it's a type of gags that, yes, it's a good gag to try to repeat over and over, because it shows, it ends up making itself funny because of itself, right? So it's like a gag that's entirely funny because you watched the show. Then the assistants end up organizing the slides, as again, like, you can see that, like, in the way that they have a specific scene entirely to showing off the slides, like how they're setting up the slides. I think that, like, you see, this is the type of scene where it's like, you see, this is what I'd be worried about losing, because this is the type of scene where it's like, it's not necessary at all. Like, it is objectively not needed. However, it is the type of scene that helps build world. It's a cool scene. You know, it's a good scene, and it really helps establish that world in your mind, because it's like, this is not something that I see in other worlds, because in other shows we don't do this, right? The problem is, we don't do this for a reason, because if you do this too much, you end up having hour-long episodes. So, like, it just, yeah, you see, it's a, you win some, you lose some. But yeah, the 2 teams end up joining them over at the elimination ceremony. However, not the 3 teams, unfortunately, because the team name is nowhere to be seen. However, Marble Soda knows where they went. They went to the store, apparently, because they were fetching, I mean, the real reason why they went to the store is because they were fetching out the new glasses for D20. That is the reason. However, they went to the store to just buy things, and everybody went together over at the morning time. We have the elimination. After the elimination time theme, we have this very interesting thing where you have, like, the metadata of the elimination. It's kind of interesting. Like, it has location of elimination, Eclipse Hotel Auditorium. I'm sorry, are we gonna this is exactly the type of thing where it's like, you just know that one of these days this is gonna be, like, hosted in, like, the void, and it's gonna be like question mark, you know, like, this is setting up for future. But yeah, team name not currently anywhere to be seen, and while Laundry Pod like, yo, we can, like, get these people, no, while one of the assistants is like, not Laundry Pod, is like, yo, we can get some of these people over here. Laundry Pod is resentful at them because it didn't show up at noon, which is when they said it was gonna be, because, like, they misunderstood at noon to be, like, past noon, or something, so they thought, oh, we have time to go to the store or whatever, but, yeah, they don't, but then instead of just teleporting them here, we end up having the Magic Fellas. Like, they have not used their magic, like, one time. There's, like, a societal rule that, like, yo, Magic Fellas, you're gonna do nothing, okay? Like, nothing, because, like, this is kind of a thing, right? Like, everybody just said, no, don't use your magic. So, alright, then no magic ends up getting used. And we end up having the other fellas say, Coconut is a rebel, bro. Like, as far as assistants go, Coconut just does shit. I'm not gonna lie. Bro is not having none of that Laundry Pod shenanigan. I'm not gonna lie. This guy is so getting fired in, like, 2 episodes. There's no way Coconut is keeping his job. Which is sad, because it is by far, as far as the assistants, definitely the coolest. I like Coconut a lot. Their design is excellent, and their personality is also quite fun. But yeah, we have the eliminated contestant on team name, the team that didn't show up, be Pomegranates by 3 votes over Symbol. You can tell a lot about, you know, who gets the screen time in these by just kind of noticing here the situation. Like, yeah, Pomegranate barely gets anything. He gets 43 votes. The D20 obviously gets the most, right? PC is the most clearly detectable outer range because of their voice and everything, right? So yeah, that makes sense. Then we end up having the paper towel elimination, where the eliminated contestant will end up being none other than Peach, who gets eliminated by, like, 5 votes. Unfortunate, didn't get to do anything, they got knocked off immediately. Also true, also a problem with the last challenge, right? is that you got to not write contestants by kicking them off, right? However, by not writing contestants by kicking them off, you also means that you're not having contestants be present in the team that is up for Elam because of the ones that drop off early, right? Which is also a bad idea. It wasn't a great challenge episode one, I'm gonna be honest. But yeah, goodbye Peach. They end up dipping, which is quite sad. Marble Soda is so overexcited. And then we end up having a D of a team where Team Cafe, whatever, ends up having Pillar be eliminated with a couple less votes than Laundry Basket, about 10. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. We got to know very little about Pillar, and I think as far as designs go, they're the least immediately interesting on this team, the Power of Friendship team. So yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's like it makes sense. The main thing is that like they were best friends with Ribbon, but that like it kind of ended the day. Then Pillar ended up being super upset, being like, "Why didn't you just listen to me? I wanted a team full of strong competitors." You know, because we want a team built on strength, and now we lost, and I'm out because of that. Okay, 2 notes. Note number 1, you are not literally forced to be on a team if it is not going along with your plans. You know, we can be like, yo, we should build a team based on strength. The other fellas go like, no. It's like, okay, then I am going to go to a team more strengthful. You know, like, you can just do that. You're not forced to lock yourself onto a team. It's also your decision for accepting the fact. And secondly, yet again, you were the last team to lose, right? And yet again, because of the way the episode was written, I still don't think it's great. Everybody was literally equally as close to losing as this team who barely lost, right? There was one person left on each platform. So, like, it was not, they didn't dominantly lose. They didn't anything, pretty much, right? They weren't, so, like, it's unfortunate, but it's really not the fault of not having stronger competitors, you know, like, it's kind of just bro. But, okay, they end up dipping after the drama. The drama is pretty deep. I like, being Marble Soda, everybody gets absolutely insane. Coconut goes like, nope, you gotta go. My laundry pod is not exactly happy with this. I know, this fella's so they're getting sacked. Anyways, everybody else gets eliminated, so they get TP'd away. Not sure where, but they get TP'd away. Beanie ends up being 100% honest to their team. Like, yo, fellas, we kind of got... they kind of disappeared. So, yeah, they definitely realized that was the elimination. And they end up dipping away with the card with whatever they can buy on it. Because, you know, Pomegranate not here anymore. So, alright then. Did I forget anything? There was definitely something else here. Oh yeah, Ribbon ends up sticking by the auditorium because they're super sad that, you know, their bestie got out so early. I mean, like, I think that, I mean, okay, it's sad for your best friend to get out. However, you know, there wasn't that much bonding time, you know, I think, still. Right? Like, it's been, what, a day? Like, 1 day? You know? Like, you're doing yesterday. Like, you got out in 1 day. It really wasn't that big of an experience. You know, you can still win for the both of them. You don't need to do this much depression, you know? Like, it's like, come on. But yeah, then the challenge gets set up. Still not spawning in the other team because I don't know why at this point. We're just randomly pissed for some reason. But, we end up having the challenge, 2 hours to make a pie, and once time is up, judge the laundry pot alongside 3 judges will judge them. There is literally no supplies available. There is nothing to your available, so you need to just do everything on your own as long as you have a pie. Okay, so that is interesting. Now, okay, I don't think yes, okay, so the challenge ends up being to make a pie. Okay, so here's the deal. Making a pie, personally, usually how I would go, right, at making like, teams like this work, right, is, personally, my strategy would be to definitely split off into mini ideas, right? So, like, for example, my immediate idea was just the 2 hours to go out to the city, get supplies, and go back. Not enough time, realistically. So, my immediate idea was just like, go buy a pie, go to a bakery, right? Because it's like, okay, you have to make a pie. However, even though you have to make a pie, first of all, would they realize? Maybe, I don't know, but you could do a bunch of stuff. But then it's one of those things where it's like, I wouldn't, like, it's better to just have multiple ideas, right? Like, have a bunch of people try to bake a basic cake, you know, go grab ingredients and make it, right? Have some people try to buy a cake from, like, buy a pie from, like, a bakery, right? So that way, if they don't have something, they can still use it. And then have some people, you know, go into the hotel and see if there's stuff there. You see, like, split off our team of 9. It's a team of 9. Like, you can do 3 groups of 3, for example, pretty easily. And 3 people can do a lot of stuff, right? So then it ends up that, like, there's a lot of potential ideas, and then whatever works out of whichever trio does best does it. And then if every trio fails, then fair enough, the ideas were just bad, right? So all right. Anyways, Orb ends up hitting up the love potion a little bit because, like, so what happened last time that I didn't quite clock, which is my bad. On episode 1, I actually should have clocked it, but yes, is that the reason why Diamond was super enamored by Orb is because they fell onto the love potion, which means, like, love potion cracked and had the liquid drip, and then those two fell above it, which means that Diamond ended up inhaling love potion and therefore just fell in love with the first person they saw. Okay, I see. Which is Orb. So Orb freaking put them in a box, apparently. For the meantime, and love potion is like, okay, yes, I know how to get rid of the potion. You have to just remove the effect of the person, but you can't remove the effect of the person. You literally just have to murder them, so that way they respawn. So that is the idea. Orb will be trying to do that, presumably in episode 2B, because we don't get much evolution on that plotline further. So that's unfortunate. And in the meantime, what the hell does this team go over and do? I don't know. They end up, oh yeah, a couple other people go try to find Orb for some reason. I forget, love potion sends them over there. Oh yeah, then whatever you're called, you know, what are you called? Mango? No, you're not Mango. You're the grape mangosteen, whatever it is. General mangosteen, okay? Ends up trying to sneak it in to steal from the cafe. They end up doing that because to steal ingredients from the cafe, while the circuit board, the nerd, ends up doing that. Okay, random question that I don't really, I'm trying to, might be a little dumb, but it's like, why is the RAM not smart, but the circuit board is smart? Because wouldn't the RAM theoretically be the smart one? Right? I mean, the circuit board, because, like, the thing about it is that, like, okay, I know that this totally doesn't matter to anything at all, but it's like, technically, the circuit board doesn't have too much going on within, like, doesn't have too much brains themselves. Like, they just connect the pieces that go on them, you know? Kinda? Like, the CPU, the RAM, the other stuff, like, that's like the circuit board, you know? Like, they connect the pieces, but they don't, like, do it, you know? Like, the RAM in theory could be smarter, but they don't have the nerd personality. Like, you know, it's kind of interesting. But yes, the magic stick still again doesn't want to teleport. You can teleport people. Can you teleport ingredients? Can you teleport yourself to the store? Like, can you do something? Is magic also not allowed? I don't know. You can teleport a cake to you. Like, I don't. Like, can the magic people actually have their magic be useful, or the magic people just keep gonna get like, no, don't use your magic for whatever contrived reason. Anyways, Van that was soldering iron allowed them to use. Who is soldering iron? You know, I don't know. But then we end up having the fellas go over. Nobody can drive, however, because of, you know, the oddballs' detail. That pretty much RAM just picked oddballs based on how many limbs they have. Except for Core. Core ends up doing that, and Core's like, alright, I guess I gotta drive. So they end up inviting everybody over to the vehicle. Look, I guess Core drives. I'm sure they'll drive to a decent amount. Music Box stays back, which seems to be an important detail. So, okay. Coin team! There's so much going on. Like, you see why these episodes take 1 million years? But yes, coin team ends up the coin leader team, the yen coin, ends up having the idea of doing a collaborative cake. I keep saying cake. I'm sorry, it's pie, but you know, you get what I mean. A collaborative pie. So everybody is supposed to take a piece of paper, draw a pie that they like, and then they're going to combine and make the super pie, right, with a detail from all the pies that people like. Okay, which is a debatable, successful idea. But then Divido ends up being super upset because it's like, I don't want to do these dumb ideas. This is nonsense. Okay. I mean, you can say that it's dumb, but at the same time, what is your idea, bro? Like, it's classic one of those moments where it's like, yo, I'm gonna leave. Okay, I mean, you can criticize the idea because it's not a very good idea. No, it's not, because it's absolutely not, because it takes too long, right? Because it's putting so much thought into the ideation of the ideation of the pie, that like, when the ideation of the pie is not that important, because the challenge with this, like, the main challenging part of this challenge is not to make the best pie, it is to have a pie ready. Like, the teams that are going to lose this challenge are most likely going to have pretty much not a pie done, because they're just gonna fail to do the challenge, you know, because that was the complication given. So the actual ideation of the pie is not that important, you know. But oh well. Either way, what is this team? The Power Friendship team ends up not being super friends, because they end up having the freaking ribbon off still in the auditorium. So somebody goes over there to try to comfort them. The keyboard after falling a few times, and then Yenkoin ends up freaking shoving vinyl in the record player and shutting it down. To be like, yo, you need to be in detention for a little bit because you're like upset. This is of course kind of fun. You know, at the end of the day, one of the details. Look, okay, it's a little weird to imagine. However, of course, one of the details that I always enjoy with object shows, when objects are used for their object nature. So the fact that the vinyl can, like, that we have vinyl go in the record player, like, it's actually interesting. You know, like, I like that. Because I feel like a lot of object shows, they don't take advantage of the potential, of the cool nature of the object shows. Kind of like how the smoke detector, when they were scared, right, it lights up. Like, it's cool stuff, right? So, yeah. Anyways, the record player is, the record player doesn't want it either. However, they don't make an effort to stop that from being the case. Like, the record player kind of just accepts it as the way of life, even though they don't actually, like, you know, they could just be like, yo, team, I don't want this guy here. Can you, like, go? Like, I mean, I guess, okay. It's one of those things where it's like they could just have him not there. However, it is probably a benefit to their team if the other team has one less member. So if they can just confiscate one fella like this, then okay, sure then. But yeah, the other fellas ends up now having an 11th honorary member, a second honorary member on top of Lantern. So that's cool. And then what do we end up having? Okay, they end up wanting to, taking a bit of geocache to make the cake, because they're filled with the berries that they need. That apparently makes geocache extremely weak, however, which is interesting. You can already tell their eyes. Again, that's not something that's shown in this episode, but that'll be a thing. The fellas are back from the store, and then they end up, with a lot of shit, but they end up not knowing what the challenge is. So they just panic and try to figure it out. Literally ask anybody desperately for what the hell the challenge is. Lotus Flower's team steals the van in the meantime. But yeah, so right as Keyboard's about to get to the auditorium, D20 tries to save them, going like, yo, please, we need to know what the challenge is. Keyboard's distracted, so they don't actually tell him, which means that we don't end up having them know what the challenge is yet by the end of episode 2A, which is interesting. Then we close off right as Keyboard is about to have the conversation with Ribbon. So that is the episode. You see, a lot going on, a lot of interesting things, a lot of plot lines per team. However, at the end of the day, yeah, unfortunately, that's the problem. They say that, like, in the world, not everything can be perfect. And unfortunately, this is a case of perfectionism, right? Wanting every team to have the perfect storyline for this episode just makes for an impossible episode, right? And it just kind of, it's the unfortunate aspect of it. Because, like, you want it to be great. You want everything to be as good as possible. You want everybody to have a chance. But it's like, I mean, look, these are the types of things that you gotta sort out in the conceptualizing stage, Like, when you do A, you have to sacrifice B, right? And at the end of the day, because it's one of those things that say, yo, if we wanted to do a show where everybody got screen time and importance, don't make a show with 81 characters. It's not that hard, like, it's one of those things where it's like, yes, like, because the thing about it is that, like, in the note at the end of episode 1, right, it was like, I know that 81 characters seem complex, but don't worry, I'm gonna write it so that every character has importance. No, the problem with a gigantic cast isn't that it's bad in terms of writing. People enjoy large cast shows. People enjoy BFB. People enjoy animatic battle. The problem is that it's impossible. Like, we didn't clock this. Okay, whatever, bro. But, like, yeah, we end up having, apparently, a Google form to vote for your least favorite, because that way they will have a punishment in GOEFAV 3. So, basically, mean characters will be banished in the next episode. I mean, I don't know if they're going to be banished, but they're going to have a meme effect, I guess, added onto them, in episode 3, which current ETA is 2030, for fuck's sake. Like, it's just, that's kind of the unfortunate part of it, is just that, you know, and there it is. That is the discussion of GOEFAV, because of course we have finished chatting about the actual events of the episode. So yeah, that is basically my general view on the show right now. It really needs, it needs to sort itself out. Absolutely, this is like it is doing too much, literally too much, and like we know. But, like, okay, it's one of those things that's, like, I'm saying we know, but, like, the fact that we didn't know at episode 1 already is worrying. So, like, I'm trying to, you know, just in case somebody watching this video, right, you know, just in case somebody from the teams over here, like, I'm trying to make this very clear. This is impossible, and I hope you know, okay? Like, I'm really hoping that that we are aware of this, okay? Because at least if we're on the same page, we can at least work to fix it, right? Because currently, I mean, holy shit, you know, like, it's actually insanity. But yeah, it's something. Yeah, absolutely. This is another one of those shows that do suffer from kind of the unfortunate matrix of, like, show that has so much effort put into it, but it had such a screw up in the planning stage of having 81 characters, right? Whereas kind of like, like, you know, it feels like I'm watching the Titanic. Like, I feel like it's kind of difficult to not see it hitting an iceberg and then shutting down. You know, like, it's kind of complicated. Like, I want it to not, you know? Like, it's kind of like, I really don't want it to do, like, I want this show to succeed. It's really good as far as the writing goes. It's one, like, it makes this show makes half an hour episodes feel very nice, you know, which, and not long at all. Like, it makes it, like, it's very nice watches. However, like, you know, it's just one of those things. How does it not fail? Like, I'm trying to figure out what's the plan. Is there a plan? Like, because we're saying, oh wait, what does the note say? Oh, we're gonna strategize. I'm sorry, like, I'm not confident right now. We tried strategizing in the end of episode 1 and we made an hour episode instead. Like, how am I supposed to believe right now? Like, you know, I'm trying to be nice out here, but the track record, you know, sometimes you gotta take a look at the track record, and the track record is not looking too confident. Okay, so come on, you can do this, but we gotta put a lot of thought into this. That has to be smart, very smart. Okay, because we're dealing with a superbly difficult situation, and that means that it has to be a superbly 99% perfect solution for it to end up good. Okay, because again, it's one of those situations where this situation for a show fails 98% of the time. So that means that we need to put 99% of our focus into seeing how to make it work right now, because right now it's impossible. So yeah, good luck on that. I hope to see you not in 2027 with episode 3 release. You know, I'm hoping to see, like, that being, you know, a bit faster. But good luck, and see you. Next thing now that I have to watch. I don't know what it is, but next thing. Okay, so the next show that we're going to be taking a look at is Batalha por Lugar Tranquilo. So, BPULT, BPULT. I was recommended this by its creator, CatsAnimações, or Cat Stuff, who is a fella with 213 subs. They have a Flip Club object show that is in Portuguese, because it's from Brazil, of course. Now, I can speak Portuguese, so I was like, what do I do about this? Because I could technically just review this in its native language. You know what? I decided, but what I'm going to do is, for this special occasion, alright, I'm going to review at least episode 1 in Portuguese, which I've not done. Like ever for any episode, and then we're gonna see how that goes while I'm recording it, okay? Then if it goes well, if I have the words to explain what I'm thinking and everything, I will do the other episodes. However, I will at least do one to commemorate the first Portuguese episode that we ever watch in Portuguese, and then the rest we might still do in English. However, we'll do episode 1 in Portuguese at the very least. So episode 1 was released 2 months ago. It's titled Os Construtores. Let's go. Olá, eu acabei de ver o primeiro episódio de BPULT e estou falando em português para dar a minha review desse programa aqui. Então, deixa eu dar um pouquinho de contexto nisso. Então, eu ouço muito português por causa de familiar. Então, eu sei português, mas eu não preciso falar muito português, porque não estou em país que fala português, né? Então, respondo, a maioria das vezes, não em português. É uma daquelas, fala português comigo, mas eu não preciso falar português, porque entendem outra língua, e não é a minha língua principal, né? Então, não estou extremamente prático, mas vamos ver se eu consigo dar a minha Object Catchup Review nesse programa aqui. Então, temos a letra E. A letra E está olhando no rio porque está bem triste. Porque não sabe o que é. Eu não sei como é que não sabe o que é. É a coisa mais fácil do mundo. Você é uma letra. Mas tá bom, aí chega outra letra que não ajuda a responder a pergunta do que é. Falando, olha, e se você faz um game show, um object show, né? Uma competição aí com as pessoas que estão. E o E acha, ok, tá bom, vou fazer essa competição. Então eles vão lá e vão fazer o show. Nós temos a intro, que é uma intro para Flipa Clip, né? É normal, né? É aquilo que se espera, tem os nomes atrás, que é útil para saber também. Tem Star, que é o único personagem que não tem o nome em português, não é estrela, é só Star mesmo. A intro não é longa bastante para mostrar todos os personagens, então mostra metade dos personagens e os outros, então nem precisa mostrar eles. Ok, tá bom, então. Então, com os personagens aparece o I e se mostra a todo mundo, se introduzindo, falando, olha, vocês querem ganhar um prêmio bem bom, não? Um prêmio, uma ilha tranquila, uma ilha da paz, se poderia até dizer, uma ilha de sonhos, uma Dream Island. Então, vão lá e todo mundo, obviamente, vai querer. Então, vão fazer que 4 equipas de quadro, desculpa. As equipas vêm formadas bem rápido mesmo. A primeira equipa tem o party, uma barreira, uma carta e aí um botão. Ok, não, esse é um alarme ou um botão? Acho que é um alarme. Eu já não tô lembrando os nomes. Aí a outra equipa tem o Star que é super rápido. Você conseguiu pegar a madeira extremamente veloz para o desafio. Aí tem um Tutti Frutti, um suco de Tutti Frutti, um machete e aí depois uma coroa, ou alguma coisa de uma coroa. E aí depois a última equipa é feito automático, né? Por isso tem a melancia, tem um livro, tem um pá e tem um pau e tem um ar-condicionado fazendo as 4 equipas que vão fazer os seus nomes. Quais são os seus nomes? Tem um nome deixa que eu escolho, tem a equipa da estrela que vem se chamada 13 Atlas, por alguma razão, não sei porquê. A estrela tava, falando que conseguia falar com as cometas lá em cima, ou algo do gênero, eu não entendi direito, mas algo assim. E aí depois tem a outra equipa que se chama Nada, porque não tem nome, não fazem nada, então não tem nome. E aí a última equipa se chama a pessoa chamada A. A de letra baixa, A de letra pequena, que fala o nome, os estalistas, que eu não sei o que é, mas acho que nem eles sabem, então tá bom, né? E aí temos a nosso primeiro desafio, a primeira challenge. Então, o desafio é de construir uma casa, pior casa vão perder. Todo mundo consegue construir uma casa boa, quase praticamente, que é sempre uma coisa que eu não sou muito fã, porque é tipo, olha lá, você é construtor. Você, de todas as pessoas que vocês conhecem no mundo, quantas delas é que saberiam construir uma casa do nada quando faladas, bora, vai construir uma casa? Muitas poucas. Então, por que que 12 dos 16 objetos vão saber construir uma casa do nada, sem por nenhuma razão? É por isso que eu sou contra desafios desse jeito, porque, tipo, o jeito que as pessoas sabem ou não sabem fazer é totalmente aleatório, é por escolha toda da escritura e por nada mais. Até por isso que eu não sou um fã, mas, né, as equipas fazem bem. E de tudo também, as equipas praticamente não tinham que fazer nada, porque a equipe nada não fez nada. Então, eu estava indo ali nas cavernas, tentando minerar para achar materiais para construir a casa, e falharam em jeito incrível. Estavam ainda lá e ninguém se vê eles. Então, estão para a eliminação: ar-condicionado, melancia, history book, ou graveto. Olha, provavelmente, quem é que deu a ideia de minerar? Acho que foi o ar-condicionado, né? Então, eu acho que... Pera, será que foi? Eu não lembro. É eles que estavam minerando, pera aí. Eu acho que... Não, foi a melancia. Ok, então é culpa da melancia. A ideia da... A culpa é da melancia que deu a ideia. Então a melancia teria que ser eliminada. Mas o ar-condicionado foi aquela que estava minerando mais e não teve a boa visão de pensar, isso é uma má ideia, bora fazer outra coisa. Então eu eliminaria a melancia, mas o ar-condicionado também está a risco. Então essa é a minha review do primeiro episódio em português. Como é que foi? Será que foi bom? Eu não sei. Agora, olha, para manter um nível de normalidade com o resto da série, eu vou fazer a review dos outros episódios em inglês, mas eu queria dar esse especial do primeiro episódio para fazer uma review em português, só mesmo para ver como é que fica, se anda bem ou anda muito mal. Eu acho que foi ok, eu mais ou menos achei as palavras que eu precisava para tudo. Parece que quem é fluente em língua sabe falar a língua. Eu sei, estou surpreso, eu também. Então, bora lá pro segundo episódio, que se chama Um Pesadelo Acrofóbico. Bora em inglês fazer a review do resto da série, mas esse era o especial só pra ti mesmo. Ok, próximo. Okay, I'm sorry, I am back to the English. So that is episode 2 of BPULT. I decided that, look, I don't think doing the entire review in Portuguese makes a lot of sense. Because first of all, in case somebody out there watches Catchup for the experience of me talking, then it's kind of weird. And secondly, I think it'd be just a bit embarrassing if it's not that good. So I'm gonna just keep it English, alright? So I'm gonna take this episode where not a lot actually happens. And I want to talk a little bit more about the more technical aspect of the show, because I didn't really talk about it that much in the last episode, because the last segment I was very much so in try to not look dumb mode when speaking, right? So so this show is animated in Flip a Clip, and it's animated pretty well. Like, one of the things about this that I think stands out, like the show stands out with, is its relative capability of being competent in all aspects. It's Flip a Clip animated, of course, so you'll see a lot of that, like, Flip a Clippy frame rate, like that 12 FPS look to things. However, in general, it's pretty solid. Like terms animation, like whenever something has to happen, it'll happen pretty smoothly, right? Like you get everything that's happening pretty solidly. The characters might be a little bit rough in terms of ass and anything, but overall, everything that needs to happen happens, right? And it's pretty nice. And then in the meantime, with stuff like the voice acting. The voice acting is very competent. One of the things that we see these like one-man audio show mobile crews struggle with, right, is that a lot of the time it has a big problem when it comes to figuring out how to get good audio quality out of a phone, right? Which what a noise. Because like it ends up being more complicated. You know, because there can be people around and stuff. And sometimes you can hear people around, but in general, they manage to make the microphone quality pretty solid. So the voice sounding quality of most of the characters is pretty solid. They have different voices. They have relatively different personalities. So yeah, same thing goes with the writing aspect of it. It's, you know, it's pretty solid. It's pretty good. It gets like roughly what it wants to do across. That's kind of what it does. It gets what it has to do across pretty well, right? However, I think that one of the main things that it might struggle with is just kind of that, like, there maybe isn't too many ideas going on. Like, for example, in here, what was the idea? Like, oh, you can hop from platform to platform, go to look at a store sometimes. Like, that's about it. Right? There's not too much going on, right? But yeah, overall, I think on a technical aspect, this show is very, very watchable, you know? Like lip sync, yeah. Again, lip syncing, like that. I think the lip sync is where you can see the most flip clip like roughness around it, right? However, on average, I think that absolutely the elements of it are definitely all there for a solid to watch show. The music is the only thing that's a little bit weird. Because the music is interesting in the way where it's high quality, low quality at the same time. Like, it's a high quality recording of an audio, which is weird because it's like, it's not the download of an audio. Like, we didn't download an audio, we recorded an audio. It's like we recorded a song, right? Because you can hear it kind of as if it's coming out of a speaker, the song, right? However, like the music, however, at the same time, it's a high quality speaker, right? It's kind of interesting. However, this same speaker sound sort of amplifies the music a little bit and makes it a bit loud, and sometimes it goes a little bit louder than the music, than the voices, sorry. So, like, that is kind of the current situation with the technical aspects. Anyways, in this episode, we end up having just pretty much don't fall off a platform. Yay. After the eliminated contestant, Melancia, ends up getting, well, eliminated. So, goodbye. And in the meantime, we end up having ourselves the last challenge. Well, the letter E comes in and goes to play Minecraft on stream, on a video or whatever, to have fun. But overall, we end up having a couple of little things, such as how to orient yourself, you know, the history book, because they have, you know, history on them. Okay, fair enough. It's interesting because they know everything, but only if it's a historical fact. But I mean, I guess everything is history, right? It's like, technically, everything ever is history if somebody had to discover it or figure out how it happened, right? So, like, I guess it is. But, yeah, we end up having the store, then somebody gets kicked off. Oh yeah, then there's a cat in space that some fellas are seeing and end up dissing. I'm sorry, this is just animatic battle. There's an animatic battle. I don't remember, I'm really bad at remembering animatic battle, but I'm pretty sure that animatic battle has a cat floating up there in the sky who has all of the wisdom of the world and only speaks in meows and decides to give that wisdom to the world. Just saying. Just say I'm sensing some similarities here between A and B. Not gonna lie. And then we end up having the challenge be over, and Deixa que eu escolho is the team up for elimination. So which one is getting eliminated? I don't really know because it wasn't really a lot of their faults here. It definitely shouldn't be the button though, because there are which by the way is a button, not an alarm. I've had it correct, then I incorrectly guessed that I would have been wrong. Whoops. I'm gonna say who's the most boring one. The carta. Maybe them. I don't really know, but we'll go with that, to be honest, because other than that, I don't really know. So yeah. Alright, anyways, it is now time for episode 3 of the series. Episode 3 of BPULT is Vamos ir a ChipiChipiChapaChapaLânia. Go. Okay, that is episode 3 of BPULT. So, we have ourselves the elimination. Some other fellas from Letterland have appeared, or Letterlandia. I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of think that there is a little bit of like a missed opportunity here, you know, because I mean, like, this was like a plot line, right? That it was like, yo, I don't know what I am and shit, but it's like, I mean, you clearly do. You're a letter, and you live in Letterland with other letters who are letters, right? Like you obviously know what you are. So I mean, I get it, but like, it was kind of a weird opener to the series. But we end up having ourselves an intro with a mild variation because somebody interrupts them with the name. So apparently it's a bad place now. We got chato. So yeah, the eliminated contestant ends up being the red button, with 4 votes. So why? I don't know, to be honest. But again, I'm gonna be honest. That last challenge I wasn't too locked in on it. So yeah, they were the only one that was alive, so I said they should be safe. But, in my opinion, but you know what? Whatever. You can get eliminated. I guess you were like mean. So the next challenge. Get to the other side of the river. Oh, build a boat and get to the other side of the river. You will be given random items by what? That the TV. So one of them gets a cardboard box, the other ones gets a contestant, and the last team gets Bitcoin. Okay. No, the other team gets Bitcoin, and the last team gets an Xbox 360 controller. This is totally irrelevant to pretty much everybody. However, they all, like, none of those things can build a boat, except for technically a cardboard box. A team ends up ordering a boat, which arrives pretty quickly. I don't know if they got delivered. No, I lie, they don't got delivery that fast in Brazil. But yeah. Our stop sign manages to build a boat with the cardboard box. Pretty well done. And they even hire a recommended character to drive the ship. Which is cool. Then the contestant that joins the freaking the nothing team ends up going over with their new contestant to ChipiChipiChapaChapaLânia. Now why? I don't know. I don't know. They've apparently got a boat there. I'm not sure why. We can find out that you can buy one for $9.99. I don't know. Damn, that's pretty good. pretty good price. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, if you think that it's $9.99 real, then like that would be like what, $1? So like, yeah, that'd be Gucci. Mystery book eventually dies though, so they recover them, and now they have a boat. So they. Wait, what is... Yeah, they're off adventuring. Then, in the meantime, Star's team fetches some money from a flag. This is a flag of a state. Which one was it? I remember. I knew these at some point. Is it like Pernambuco? I think it is. But, I don't really know. Yeah, you'll find that a lot of the recommended characters are just flags. I mean, well, I don't know why, but why not, I guess. Then we end up having ourselves, like you see, just the flag of Lima ends up coming in to go like, I will destroy you all, brr. Right? But then no, they interfered, which they can't do. Recommended characters cannot interfere. So then there is the classic question. Oh, there's the to be continued. I actually love that gag. That gag was really funny. Yeah, I think that like it's trying a bit more, because I think like the one thing that was going negative about this it's entirely like that this show, it was feeling fine at a technical level, it just wasn't feeling too creative, right? It wasn't doing much. However, in this episode, I feel like it's doing a little bit more. It's trying some more ideas, it's calling back, that cat from episode 2, it's not just stuck in episode 2, shows up here as well, right? We're getting locations, places, things. Alright, and I feel like we are kind of developing a world. Now, we're going to need to see if, of course, that world, ends up being, like, ends up, keeping itself going into the future. However, for now, it ends up solid. Lima's punishment for interfering with the challenge is getting a mini letter N on them at all times, so I guess they have to babysit them, which is unfortunate. But yeah, so what do we have? They buy an egg. Okay, so a team buys an egg, throws it at the other boat of the team that bought it, right, that bought the boat, ends up getting eaten by a fish, but then gets spewed out at the finish line. Okay. And then that means that, yes, so, wait, hold on. So, then the team gets the guy to help the team with the other fella, the fella that they got for free from, so they went to ChipiChipiChapaLânia to get a boat. They went to that. We have an ad, proper yellow face style. What is it? Get one, buy 4, get 1. Just in general. Okay. Good stuff. Yes, love that deal. I'm going to be signing up for that every day. then there's the question: isn't the boat driver technically also cheating? Because at the end of the day, like, they are not allowed to interfere. But well, technically they didn't help. They were hired, so they're getting paid to do this, right? So like they were bought, which okay, fair enough, I guess. So yeah, that means that Team 13 Atlas is up for elimination for being the least far in their journey, because all they did was, I don't know, steal money from a flag, and that's about it. So, likes and dislikes, that is the system. It's a really interesting system because it's doing the likes and dislikes. However, it forgot that you have to use videos for that. You have to use forms or videos. I've never seen a likes and dislikes system done through the comments. So you have to write -A or plus, and like you see, like, you have to write an additional character. I mean, would it work? I mean, I guess it would work, but like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, usually it's a bit of an overcomplication, right? Because it literally doubles the amount of voting voting codes, right? So I feel like it'd be just better to use videos or to use a form. But like, okay, sure, we'll go with that. Who's getting eliminated? I don't know. This team didn't do jack shit. The Crown fella, I think, did the least. So I'm gonna say that the Crown fella gets eliminated. And I don't know. We'll go with that. Because other than that, I don't really know. Apparently, according to the Tutti Frutti, it was the government's fault. And the fucking government flag, not the government flag, the DF flag ends up coming in, going like, "Yo, why'd you diss me, bro?" But like, okay then. So yeah. All right, one more episode to go until we are all caught up on BPULT. It is titled Esquadrão Fusarca. Do I know what that means? I guess I kind of do. It's the police, basically. Let's go. Let's watch it. Let's talk about it, and let's see how the show's doing in the today. Alright, that is the fourth episode, and latest episode currently of BPULT, which released about 3 weeks ago. So, we have ourselves the elimination getting hosted pretty early. Yet again, it does some fun visual gags, this series. Like, I think that in terms of, like, the pure animation quality aspect of it, for Flip-A-Clip, it's good. It does what it needs to do. It manages to have a solid set of backgrounds, a solid set of, like, environment building, right? And it just does stuff pretty well, They end up going, okay, so what happens? So they go to Letterland, two people, the barricade and the stop sign, to go to Alfredo Berto. Why? I don't know. But they go there because he sells stuff, and he apparently sold them a gun that allows you to go to open a portal to different universes, okay? So they buy that for $12.40, and then they end up going over to different universes by using the portal, because apparently there is a big distance between where Letterland is and where the showgrounds are. So they go to various universes. We get to see they go to BFDI, they go to YouTube, they go to the recommended characters, they go to Teapot. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I think, unfortunately for this show, I think maybe the best looking character in this art style is 2. That 2 looks adorable. That 2 looks adorable. But eventually, they end up back at the showgrounds where the elimination ends up playing right after, the intro. Because, I guess we scrapped the elimination time theme. We end up having ourselves the eliminated contestant be the Crown with -2. And after this episode, we seem to have bailed on the system of likes and dislikes. Yeah, I mean, the thing about likes and dislikes... Okay, well, first of all, we didn't do anything with the likes in general. I don't think... Nobody got a prize, right? So, like, what's the point? Because the thing about likes is likes, you're supposed to give a prize usually to the person who got the most like. Okay, well, I mean, kind of no, because yes, here we're doing the system of likes minus dislikes. Like, that's the system that we're doing. However, usually the character most like does usually get a prize, right? So like, there's not much point to getting a friggin' likes this system if there aren't going to be prizes, especially in this show that doesn't get too many votes, where like it's gonna make the eliminations feel less valid when like everybody overall was kind of liked, right? Anyways, they all go to some weird factory mysterious thing place, and they have to find the weirdest thing. So the teams go over. One team, the freaking mystery book team, ends up finding an evil history book, which is kind of interesting. So interesting thing, they have to find something. They don't have to bring something, which is kind of the one thing that I wasn't really clocking. Right, because I saw them, like, they saw Evil History Book, but they didn't actually grab the Evil History, like, they didn't have to bring him along, but then at the end of the challenge, they were just like, yo, we found Evil History Book, and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting, but, like, there's no proof that they technically did, you know, like, that's kind of weird, because I thought they would need proof. But anyways, eventually they go over in the back doors where there is a person generator, which is interesting. You can generate many types of people, such as planets. One of them generates a squiggle, the team with the barricade and the freaking stop sign. These two are best buds. No, not the stop sign, the card, sorry. Those two are probably still best buds. They generate the thing. Which is just kind of a bunch of squiggles. So that character ends up being what they find and submit. And then the team, what this team called, the star team, the team, I don't, what I should name it or whatever it's called, ends up finding a guy called Juan, and then they end up catching him eventually. This bro got Sonic looking ass hair. I'm not gonna lie. Look at that hair. Look at that hair, bro. He got pew pew pew. But yes, he eventually gets up, but yet again, they don't bring him to the elimination ceremony. They just say they found him. And then that means that the last team, by just not doing anything, are up for elimination because they were. What was this team doing? I'm trying to. This is the team that like had a map, and was like they went to the room, but we never got to see it. Yeah, because, like, we never got to see it. Because, like, they were like, oh, there's got to be something over here, right? But then they go on an adventure over there, and then we never go and see what was the result of their adventure. Like, did they find something there? Or did it end too early? Like, what happened, you know? Like, that's kind of the thing with it. What the hell, what happened? I saw that the description was complaining, yo, this episode wasn't as long as it should be. Yeah, make more episodes. There's the opportunity right there. You gave no screen time to the team that you put up for elimination. Give them screen time then. Hi. What is it? Like, I mean, whatever. The elimination period 10 days because it's longer now, but yeah, and overall that is the show. I think that this show is doing a solid job. I mean, of course, you do, like, keeping in entirely mind that this is a show made by one person on FlipperClip. I believe that it is a very, very watchable show, you know, because, like, I think, on average, I mean, okay, definitely when doing Object Catcher, I think my standards definitely lowered a little bit, because I've seen what the floor is a bit more. However, I think that this was it was a solid watching experience, you know. There were a couple, like, there's a couple details, like, I think the music quality not being great, especially, like, one recommendation I absolutely give: please don't have the the background track have vocals on it. That is immensely distracting. The background song cannot have vocals, okay? It cannot. It needs to be instrumental pure, okay? And then in other aspects, just kind of, you know, just yeah, just it's solid animation. Voice acting is, I mean, again, as with the resources that we have to work with, which is one voice, it does about as well as it can, right? Writing, I think, is trying to get a little bit more creative. I still think it kind of doesn't have enough ideas. You'll notice with this episode being shorter than it needed to. Like, what do you mean it was shorter than it needed to? Well, it was shorter than it needed to because we didn't have more to write. I mean, you wrote the possibility of a team going into a place, and then you forgot to write them actually in the place because we had no ideas. So I think that it needs a bit more brainstorming, right? Like, this show needs a little bit more time put into the writing department to go, like, okay, what will be cool, right? Because I feel like that it's missing that a little bit. But other than that, it's pretty solid. But it maybe just that. It's not extremely creative, right? I'm gonna be honest. But other than that, on the technical aspects, it's very solid, right? For a Flipper Club show, it is one of the most, to be honest, one of the most solid I've seen in terms of just how, like, well produced it feels while still being, you know, kind of the Flipper Club hand drawn aesthetic to it. But yeah, boa sorte, próximo. Alright, next up we're going to be watching 2 seasons, technically, although the second one's like extremely short. So Kirb08, or Kirb08Mrls, she is a creator with 4,000 subscribers who is mainly, I would say, well, I guess mainly known for having made the show Battle to be able to exist, alright, which happened about like 3 years ago, with an episode about 10 months ago, okay? Yeah, I was recommended to watch this along with another show that I don't know we have time for today, but we will see. By Liminal Latte, which it was the creator of Battle for Obama Hamburger, alright? So these were their 2 recommendations. So we're gonna watch it, starting with BTBATE, or how do I say this? The BTB8 1A, which is titled "Oh No, Lawsuits." Let's go. Alright, that is episode 1 of BTBATE. Alright, we have ourselves a case of the object show with no voice acting in it. It's been a while since we've covered an object show with no voice acting in it. It absolutely has. I probably think that the last time that we've covered a show without voice acting, when was it? It was most likely, it was most likely Trinket Trouble. Yeah, the last time I watched Trinket Trouble, that season 2 finale, because it wasn't like that extremely long ago. Yeah, probably, but yeah, so of course before we do that, just keep in mind that my coverage of these tends to be a little worse, because like watching a show without voice acting is a lot more effort, right? Which means that there are a lot more brain power spent, so I get tired out easier of them. But anyways, we have ourselves a bunch of people that have they're pretty much just chilling in the grasslands, doing stuff. We have a water and the Coca-Cola. Or Cola ended up who beef. There's a Cola is one of the mean characters. There's a Chipbag who's kind of the annoying one, quote unquote. There's the more logical other bag. Then there's a bunch of other characters that are known as annoying. There's the Killers, which is a trident of characters. Okay, so there's Onion, who's a cryberry. There's the Killers, who's this trident of characters who murder, such as the chainsaw, a glove with red eyes. We never actually get to see them do a murder. However, it just so happens that every single time that they're around, they end up doing. It cuts off to the character respawning. So basically, they're very good at murdering. And then there's also Poop, who exists. Then we have Cherry. Oh yeah, Cherry. Wow, its character design is very interesting. So like their eye just pops out, and then there's also a mini Cherry that just hangs out there as well. This is sick. This is cool. I don't know why people decide that cherries have the best character designs, but somebody made it law. Somebody made it object show law. That's the thing. We have a Stress Ball, who's antisocial. We have there's just a lot of characters in general. There's the Phony and the Sausage, who are they're antisocial in a way, but like they're just very still, so they're not gonna go away themselves. We have a Meat Cube, who's apparently able to recover. It's kind of like Meat Boy style. We have an Orb, who is an Orb. I don't know much about them. We have a Sock and a Beanbag, who are best buds. Then there's a freaking little Marble that keeps getting kicked around places. Then we end up having a Chalk, who gets beat up rather often. We have a Lightning, who really, really enjoys zapping people and murdering them. There's a Pill, who has the blue and red side, of course, nice and anger. There's a Vortex / Black Hole / Portal. Not really sure what it is. So they're doing that. There's 2 Slime Buddies. I'm not sure if they're related. There's a Stickman and some other characters. There's a lot of characters. And then eventually the hosts pop in. So who are our hosts? Our hosts are Stylus and Flat Screen as the co-host, and then Monitor is the primary host. Their designs are very cool. I like them a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I think Monitor's design is sick. I think Flat Screen's design is also really cool. I find it really interesting how like you'll notice, like for example, how designs that people make, they're not consistent in with a lot of situations, right? Because like it's not a problem, but I just think it's interesting to imagine, like, why is it that monitor's face is not on the screen and they just get to have a face, and why does the flat screen TV not get a face and have to draw it on within their monitor? You know, that's kind of interesting. Like, it's like, not sure why these two designs would be different, but I just find it interesting how they are, and that's like natural, right? But yeah, they end up hosting a competition game show. Why? Because like, why not? I mean, they're just chilling in grass, right? So they end up doing a prize, which is a wish cube, which allows you to, which grants every single wish you can have, and it's also unlimited. Alongside, though, if you win, you also exist. I know what. That's interesting, but we end up having. And everybody's excited. I like. Okay, to be fair, I don't know if everybody's excited because the TV said them to. Okay, hopefully, but yeah, they I don't know. You get to exist. There's apparently 40. I guess. Okay, hold on. Is it why is it battle to be able to exist? Is it because every eliminated contestant just is on the flat? Like, do they stay on the flat screen forever? Is that the punishment? So that means that everybody who loses doesn't exist because they're forever stuck in that one void, and then everybody who is able to exist is like like the winner is able to exist because they don't get to go there. I mean, that's what happens. I don't know. But either way, there's 46 contestants, which is too many, so we need to get rid of 16, which means it's time for challenge time. We have the intro, possibly a contender for shortest intro I've seen in a show. It lasts about 4 seconds, I think, overall from start to finish, which is like, what? Then we end up getting teleported into a room where the challenge is very simple. Murder, yes. There's 46, there need to be 30, so murder 60. The first 16 people to die will lose it. So, yeah, go. I mean, the best way to do this challenge is probably just stay at high alert, right? I think doing murder, like, other people are gonna try that for you, you know. So in general, I think that like being more on a defensive level, I think is better for a challenge like this. Personally, like, I think that it's a better solution. But yeah, people end up doing the murders. Of course, the killing duo and Lightning end up doing majority of the damage until eventually Lightning gets stopped themselves. The Puffer dies to a freaking metal ball, and then the challenge ends very quickly, like very, very quickly. The challenge lasts all of like 40 seconds. Yes, the challenge 40 seconds. Which, yeah, it's a very fast challenge. Apparently, the monitor, what is it? The monitor is branded K. Okay, good job. And they end up going over into the void. The challenge is to form teams. No challenge. Sorry. Now they go over and form teams. Teams of 10. So, yeah, the team name number 1 is the Fresh Fighters. This is sock, the vortex, paper, a lighter, a fruit that's half pink, the stick man, meat cube, free candy van, the freaking what is this called? The spike ball. You had a name. Lance. No, that's the thing. Mace. A mace, right? You call him mace. No, you're not calling him. Mace is different. I don't remember what it's called. And the ghost fella. This team, I know very little about them. I'm gonna be honest. Know very little about them. They seem to be pretty friendly overall. Then the next team is called Good. This is the team of Stick, Sausagey, and Phony, alongside a bunch of balls. So the cheese ball. The freaking orb, no, not the orb, but the, what are you called? The capsule, the marble, and then we have the taco, who seems to speak Spanish, I think, now ice cream, and then bread. This team is gonna be disorganized as hell. I don't see this team getting along whatsoever. I think that they're gonna be cooked, not gonna lie here. And then finally, the last team is called Something Bad as the counteract to something good. It has this was the last team formed, so I guess everybody that nobody wanted. So the chip bag, the coke, the poop, the mountain, the killer fella. And in the meantime, it also has cherries, the pills, the trash bag, the spiky fella, and the cage. This is a pretty rough team, in theory. if it's a challenge, okay, if it's a challenge that doesn't require that much teamwork, right? If it's just like a physical challenge, I think that they can get it done. However, it depends challenge by challenge. They either dominate or they get absolutely decimated. Like, there's no in between here. And yeah, next episode is the first proper challenge of the series. I'm interested because, you know, we're at episode 4 after like 3 years, and there's still 30 characters, but here 16 of them were eliminated, so maybe will more than get eliminated? I don't really know what's about to happen, but I'm curious. Episode 1B now. It is titled Tokens of Trouble. Let's see. Let's watch it. Let's go. Alright, that is BTBATE 1B, Tokens of Trouble. So we have ourselves it's the morning of the next day, and we end up having the challenge be announced. So what is the challenge? The challenge is to find your token. Okay, yes, you have to find your token here. That have been hidden somewhere around the island, and you have to bring them back to monitor for you to be safe. The 2 teams that do this will be safe, and the last team will be up for elimination. So yes, that is interesting. They don't do the most interesting things with it. I personally think that I mean, as soon as I heard the concept, I was like, one of the most interesting things that you can do with this is have a situation where, you know, somebody finds a token for a different team, because yes, you have to find a token, but I mean, you can find any token. I mean, you're searching, right? You can find it anywhere, anytime, right? So like, you can find a token for a different team, and I think that would have made an interesting idea with somebody having the token, having to hide it from a team or something, right? Like that would have been an interesting thing, but they don't do that. Which is unfortunate. That we have ourselves an intro. Yes, intros are real. Last time we had an intro, it was a super tiny version of it, because I guess it was unfinished probably. It's standard in the sense that, you know, it does the classic intro shenanigan of character shows character. However, we end up seeing every character in a habitat where roughly they manage to chill in. It's very Code Red in nature. The fabled Code Red intro that everybody loves. Will that show ever happen? No, it won't. Let's be honest. But yeah, the 30 contestants end up doing BTBATE. So yeah. Then we end up having the teams do their stuff. So the first Stickman's idea is to split up into as much ground as possible. As I personally believe, yes, this is the best strategy for searching for things. Just split up in as many different directions, especially in this where you have 3 things to possibly find as well. Because yes, okay, I know if you find somebody else's token, you won't be safe. But if you literally are in control of where the other person's token is, I mean, like, you can dug that shit in the ocean. You can bury it underground. Like, you can do anything, you know? And like, you're in control of like if the other team finds it or not, you know? Which means that you can give yourself infinite possible time, right? So like, it's absolutely worth it to try to find somebody else's token as well. But yeah, they end up splitting up into a bunch of places such as the forest and other stuff. The other team wants to copy the idea, but they decide to not necessarily copy the idea. However, they kind of just go in different places anyways, because this team doesn't agree on anything to save their life. And then the last team ends up kind of having the goofballs look around and not do great. But decides to go to look down this giant cavern, like crater that has, you know, like a cavern down there. And go like, yo, maybe there's something down there, you know, like it could be there. They end up going down Cage and to be like, yo, you sure this is a good idea? I mean, I think it's equally as, like, you know, like, you can kind of try to vibe it out, but at the end of the day, it is equally as likely for this place to have something in it as it is for any other individual place to have something in it, you know, like, there's not that much that really changes from place to place. But anyways, they eventually end up finding, what do they find? They find a pile of 2 bodies on the floor and a red light that's just shaking uncontrollably, glitching out, super weird stuff. Orb goes to touch it and gets fucking beat up by a hand who drops in. And then the red light ends up forming into the shape and body of like ends up forming into the bodies to create a being for themselves with red eyes. And hey, if you've seen that one murder that's in the competition, you know that red eyes equals a bad. So that's like a thing, right? So yeah, they end up of course speed running the hell away. Yeah, the other fella just uses a portal to go bye. If only there was a token in there, that would have been crazy. But yeah, Ghosty ends up managing to find the token in the meantime. That makes sense. They can TP and stuff. But yeah, they give it to Monitor. I love... my favorite part about Ghosty is entirely just that every time they teleport, they need to make this overly exaggerated, like, haha, I got you face. It's like, So yeah, they found the token. Good job. And we know Team Good and Something Bad end up looking for it. Cherries end up just kind of finding it in the middle of the forest at random, so they go submit it. And in the meantime, last second Capsule also manages to find it, which is nice. So then they're just going over to submit it. Cherries and Capture having a conversation. Yo, what's up? I'm just gonna go submit this token so we can win. Oh, yo, me too. But then they have this moment of realization. Yo, we're like both doing that. So then they go run. However, Cherries, who, I mean, I guess you do need to carry around a second person at all times, is behind. So then at the last second, Nicola ends up taking the mountain fella and just fucking pew straight at Capsule, destroying half of their head. And in this ultimate flash, to be fair, it looked sick as hell. Ends up losing over to the Cherries, who submits it. And the other team is up for elimination. They are quite worried about this, of course. The sausage gets mad at Cola, being like, well, I gotta win. I mean, yes, it worked, to be fair. Like, I mean, you can't blame it. At the end of the day, this is not a competition that has shown to care for the lives of others at the end of the day, right? Like, they're gonna be upset, oh no, it was mean. But, like, I mean, look, just yesterday we had the challenge that was to murder 16 people. Like, I don't think that, this show is too bothered with ethics. So I think trying to be overly ethical, yeah, it's not really needed. Like, you gotta have a sportsmanship. Can't disrespect your opponent. But if you gotta do that, Jeep can't do it, then it's like, okay, I mean, fair enough, right? And yeah, Team Good is up for elimination. It's about the save system. And about the save, who would get out? My prediction is probably Stick. I'd say that Stick gets out. Stick did barely anything. They're kind of mean. They kind of didn't do much. They're not really a part of any of the other duos properly, so I'd say they'd probably get eliminated the most out of everybody here. It's them or the Loaf, because the Loaf also didn't do anything. Like, they hang out with Ice Cream, like, that's their thing, but they didn't do that in this episode. So I mean that they don't really have much going on. But yeah, I mean, look, all I'm thinking is, like, because originally I thought that the show was going to be done after 4 episodes, because there's a season 2. However, like, it's looking like it's not, because, like, at the end of the day, like, this is one person's getting eliminated. Like, how is this supposed to happen? I don't, or, like, is this show just super slow? This is like GOEFAV levels of slow. What is happening? Okay, alright then, I mean, we'll see what happens if episode 3 ends up being a finale or not. But we will have to find out, because it's time for BTBATE 2, which is titled Get in the Van. Alright, let's go. Alright, so episode 2 of BTBATE is on the horizon indeed. So, we have ourselves, of course, the initial chatter after elimination. A couple of people be like, yo, who's gonna get eliminated? We'd be like, yo, technically we lost because Capsule didn't do the thing. It's like, okay, yes, Capsule wasn't capable of delivering the token correctly without getting something thrown at them and dying. However, they didn't, I don't think that was a predictable occurrence. That wasn't a circumstance that they could have reasonably expected to happen. And also, not only was it not a circumstance they couldn't have expected to happen, they also, found the token themselves, right, instead of everything. In the meantime, Capsule is kind of like a little, get used to having a giant crack on them, because for some reason they're, like, again, it's one of those things where it's like, you should probably just die at that point, just say, get recovered, but, like, either way, like, go talk to the boxing glove or something. But yeah, the Cherries ends up talking to the mountain, who I'm pretty sure has a new asset. But we end up having the elimination that gets hosted all the way over in the sky. So we end up having the first elimination of the series, where we have the fellas for the first time they get to realize that, oh yeah, there's people watching this game show. I love the cheese orb, the orb saying hi mom, and then the mom's watching with their family of like 1 million of her cheese orbs. That's great. But yeah, we end up having ourselves the Thursday contestant is Capsule, obviously, and then the eliminated contestant ends up being Loaf primarily with 3 votes. So I got it correct. I didn't get correct with Stick. Stick was an entirely wrong assessment. They actually got quite a little bit. However, it was okay, but Loaf I got very correct, because the thing about it is that Loaf and Ice Cream don't have that interesting of a thing going on. Like, what, they're just buddies. Like, you know, it's not that big of a deal, right? However, despite this, we still have the whole shebang. With Orb, who gets surprise also eliminated because we have double eliminations. Because yet again, 30 contestants doesn't sound like a lot until you realize that 30 episodes is a lot of episodes. So we end up having to do that so that we can split it in half, right? At least the episode count theoretically, right? With Orb. Now, here's the deal. The double elimination ends up having Orb eliminated alongside the Loaf, so they end up going into the flat screen land, like a flat screen, after just sucking people up. That ends up just nonchalantly looking the other direction, like, yep, nothing wrong happening over here. Okay, it's one of those things where it's like, it doesn't feel... The thing about the Void, okay, is that it's one of those things where it's like, yes, being in the Void is distressing, but like, I don't feel as distressed for these characters because we didn't set them up in a situation where they have lives, right? Like, it's kind of that thing where it's like, oh, yo, you're in the grasslands doing nothing, and now you're in the Void doing nothing. How much has really changed in these people's lives, right? Like, they don't have jobs, there's no society, there's no nothing that was happening. We saw episode 1A. Nothing was happening in these people's lives, right? They were just having random chit-chat or whatever. So, like, the punishment doesn't feel as, like, strict in the sense, because it's like, well, if you're here or if you're there, what does it change that much? You know, like, not really. Gonna be fully honest, it doesn't change that much in life, right? Because, like, you know, like, they don't have that much of it. But either way, they have the double elimination. So here's the deal with the double elimination: is that that this show has not done, and hopefully will do at some point in time. It's one thing. Simply, you need, if you're doing a double elimination, you need more than one team to be up for elim. You need to eliminate one person per team, because one person per team will do a much more general damage and a much less impacted damage than it was, because eliminating 2 people on the same team is rough, because they end up having 2 less members. That's like, what, fully 20, they become 20% weaker than every other team, and then it's like, their likelihood of losing again, it's way higher, right? Like, you need to kind of split the 2. It's complicated a bit for this show to do, because this show, of course, needs to, only has 3 teams to work with, so putting 2 out of 3 teams up for elimination, right? It's a lot. However, at the same time, I still do think that it's probably the best avenue to go for, because, like, it's just important. It's just very important to not have teams, like, be cut down so fast, you know? Like, we need teams to be able to roughly stay in pack a little bit so they can do challenges, right? Because, like, at this rate, it's a bit exaggerated, you know? Like, it's just kind of weird. However, yeah, we end up having ourselves the intro that I think is the same intro. And yeah, the challenge. So, I forgot. Just to close off the conversation from earlier. Yeah, I do think that having 2 teams out for elimination should be better, and it wouldn't necessarily be bad. You just have to write different challenges, right? You have to write challenges where the best wins, kind of like make the best thing, make the best artwork, for example, right? As a super boring one I just invented, right? That it's like, you kind of have to, so that way at least the teams also have to aim for the best of the best and not just for competence, right? So it's like, it'd be interesting. But anyways, the challenge is to race around the world, not the game show. You have to literally do a circle of the world, and the first people to come back, the first teams to come back will win. So the Stickman team ends up getting in the van. The only team to whose name is not good or bad, and I believe they were also the first safety every time, end up being first safe here by utilizing their van to, well, drive around the world. And then eventually they come bad and do well. So this team is absolutely establishing themselves as a force to be reckoned with in the contest. They are so far been pretty undefeatable. I'm not gonna lie, they're doing good. They're doing quite well for themselves, to be honest. So I think that's pretty interesting. So good job to the Fresh Fighters. Here, there's a lot of interesting questions to do with this challenge. Is that like, okay, you're racing around the world. What does that mean? Obviously, how do you know we're racing around the world? Because like technically, if a team went like 4 miles down the road and then waited a bit and then came back, like how would you know they didn't race around the world? Like if a team just circled you without you noticing, right? Like it wouldn't really be, it's like they wouldn't like arrive in a way, so it's one of those things where it's like I don't know if they've done, like, if there was a checkpoint system, that'd be interesting. It'd be more interesting if there was like a proper system, like, you have to go here, here, here to roughly do a circle of the earth, right? However, there's no checkpoint system. Which means that, like, or like, for example, there's a lot of ways to do this. Like, for example, I have left a freaking statue over at the perfect opposite of the world. Could you need to go grab it and bring it back to me? So that you will have done a circle of the world, right? So that way, like, you need to go to the other side to get something, right? However, nope, we don't end up doing that. And eventually one team decides to just transition, which is what? Thank you, Orb. I love how a capsule's like, transition. I done that. It's like, okay, all right, good stuff. But yes, they mean the transition in the sense of they go from one side of the screen and pop out the other, like the transition effect. So they do that, and then they're technically safe, maybe. Even though I am just gonna say, I mean. Okay, I guess they went to the left and shut up on the right. So I guess, okay, sure, whatever. So the other team, by not really doing much of anything, not really having much time to do much of anything, ends up not really getting screen time to do much of anything, ends up kind of getting eliminated. Yeah, I mean, no, this challenge is poor. I mean, that is a rough challenge. We do an easily cheesable challenge. We don't invent a solution for the easily cheesable challenge. And we put the one team that did literally nothing in the easy cheesable challenge. Get out. Like, this is not good. It's not good. Who's getting out here? I mean, Cola? Maybe, I don't know, the Cola fella, because they were mean the other episode. Will we have enough permanence? I think we will. We do, because we have had quite a bit of conversation about capture. Let's say that they get out, or maybe it's them or poop. I'm gonna say that Cola gets out though. Because otherwise I don't know. But it is what to say, so could it be an irrelevant? Could like trash bag get out on accident? But 2 people get eliminated. Oh god. Okay. Man, are we gonna save the mean one? Are we gonna save Cola? That's the question. Okay, I'm not. I'm saying Cola and trash bag. Those are the two. Those are the two I'm predicting. But yeah. All right. That's my targeted opinion. And now it is time for episode 3, which is, well, the latest episode, which released, when the hell did it release? It released 10 months ago, which is quite a while. I'm not gonna lie, it's quite a bit. So, let's see what is happening. It is titled Travel to the Ship. No, sorry. What? Travel to the Ship? That is not a word I just read. What? Okay. Travel to the Top, take 2. Okay, I'm yapping. Go. Alright, that is the 3rd episode of BTB8, or BTBATE. So that is an interesting episode. It is by quite a bit the most grand episode of the show. It's the episode where the most stuff happens, right? There feels like there's plot points being developed, stuff's happening, right? There's a lot of location, there's a lot of gags, there's just a lot of things that happen in this episode. that make it feel like the grandest episode here. However, again, it's like it works itself kind of weirdly because it does this thing where it's like with episodes of this show, you just don't know what you're gonna get, man. Like you might be getting some some episode that's 5 minutes, and you might be getting a 20-minute. Like it's kind of does that. It's kind of like like it goes to the highs and then it goes to the lows, right? Like it does both, and it's kind of hard to tell like when you're watching episodes of the series like how big of a deal is gonna be. And when it's got like an inconsistent quality in the sense, no, when it's got an inconsistent grandness to it, I think that it's kind of weird, right? But either way, this is definitely the big episode by far. It also took a while, I believe. Let's check the time. So, okay, let's go. So this episode was 10 months ago, which is February 2025 by now. Episode 2 was released on April 2023. So that is a 2-year gap between these two episodes. Now, while there is a 2-year gap between these two episodes, it's likely that the episode wasn't necessarily being made for the entire span of the 2 years, right? It's quite likely that, of course, it took a hiatus or it stopped or got cancelled or like basically the episode took a while, but like it doesn't necessarily mean that there's not gonna be. It took 2 years. It still probably very much so took a long time. But, yeah. Either way, we end up having an initial scene being like, yo, what? Ghost. How are you a ghost anyways? Like, we get revived out here. So, apparently they were a blanket fella. And they tried to put a fork in a toaster. It didn't work. And they eventually got teleported into the Deadland, or whatever they were, Dieland. So they tried to sneak into a portal that brings people back. However, in this portal, they didn't... I tried to sneak in. Presumably what it is there's probably like a line, right, for like resurrection or whatever, so you gotta sign up like, yo, I would like to be resurrected, and so do you have an appointment? Right, something like that. However, if you don't do that, you sneak in, you don't have your physical body ready for you to come back or something. That's what I'm presuming. I'm presuming there's like bureaucracy in Thailand, okay? So like we end up having Van Gogh, like, yeah, so that's why I'm a ghost, which is fair. I was like, yo, why don't you want to be a ghost? You look kind of cool. So that's fair. But yeah, they probably want like a cheeseburger. Anyways, we end up having some more chaos going on, as we end up having the elimination happen between the fella team Something Bad. So Team Something Bad, we end up having their first elimination. Over 245 votes. Drop in, which is more than the other time. And then the first save ended up being Cherries. Good job. I love the interaction of Cherries giving the slice of pizza to the smaller cherry. Like, that's great. Can the smaller cherry speak? I don't think they can. Have a mouth, at least. But anyways, the eliminated contestants end up being none other than Pill with 18 votes, and then tied with 19 is Mountainy and Cola. So they decide that Pill decides who gets eliminated, because why not? Kind of as a random tiebreaker, who goes down with them. The louder part of Pill is obviously the mean one, therefore they end up shouting Mountainy just so they can cause some chaos on their way out. And those are the two eliminated characters. I predicted none of them. Look, I predicted Cola and then I got it wrong by tiebreak, okay, entirely because we felt like Cola would be more interesting lore-wise, okay? So, come on, bro, right? I wasn't that far off. But yeah, we end up having them do and get eliminated, and as we do that, we have ourselves, well, of course, the intro. As this intro, I was trying to figure out this intro got renovated, but I really don't think it did. But one thing I hadn't realized that I guess I eventually mentioned is that Spikey's name is they're called Spiky Mervert. Why are you called Spiky Mervert? I don't know, their parents hated him apparently, which is interesting. Spiky Mervert, like bro. But yeah, what else do we have? We have the eliminated lands, and then we end up having the fella who is interesting. So yeah, okay, interesting thing that happens while arguing with Cherries, Soda and Cherries, they end up having Cherries be like, I wish you were just gone, in the middle of the argument, which interestingly enough Okay, my presumption is because it was shouted, okay, because it was shouted, what this does is it manages, like, you know, kind of like how if you're far away or whatever, or like listening through a speaker, right, and then eventually someone like says like, hey Siri, through it, and then you end up managing to hear it out from there, right? It's kind of like, it manages, just because of how loud the shout was, that it activates the wish cube from afar. Because, I mean, to be fair, one of the things, I don't know where the wish cube is. Like, that's the thing. Is the wish cube in the vicinity of the showgrounds, or was it hidden away, right? Because they can bring it anywhere, right? Monitor, or it could just be on them at all times. So if they're just in the vicinity of monitor and they wish for something, it'll happen, right? So yeah, my presumption is that they were in the vicinity-ish of the wish cube, and as they're in the vicinity of the wish cube, they successfully managed to get this fella to be gone, as in they got them to they teleported them away to like a different fucking dimension. But hey, the fella's gone, so that's good. Then what's next in the lore lands? Oh yeah, Meat Boy. Meat Boy apparently will have Meat Boy has a girlfriend, and apparently she will drop by. She will visit sometime. Which is interesting. So, I mean, some of them have a life outside of being on a grassy field. That's useful to know. But yeah, we end up having them be quite excited. Who is Meat Boy's girlfriend? I don't know. Is this a, like, what would it, is this a thing? Because I'm saying, because like this is obviously based on Super Meat Boy. Is this a, I don't know if this is a thing. I wonder if this is a thing in a game. Hold on, let me Google this. Right, this might be the dumbest. This might be the dumbest Google search ever. Let's see if there's, what are you called? Super Meat Boy girlfriend. What are you called? Bandage Girl. She is the girlfriend of Meat Boy. The what? Okay, whatever. I'm getting sidetracked. Okay, yes, Meat Boy canonically has a girlfriend in Super Meat Boy. So now you know. So presumably Bandage Girl's about to drop by, which is gonna be fun in whenever this show happens. Is this show cancelled? When is this show happening? But yeah, okay, that's fun. And in the meanwhile, Cheeseorb also ends up dropping in again. The man gets upset, like, yo, why the hell you here? And it's like, yo, I'm trying to make friends. But they like, nah. They end up just getting this team out because Stickman doesn't want to interact with their enemies, which is bad, apparently. So, yes, we then have, what the hell happens next? Oh, yeah, the challenge. So, the challenge, tower. It is tall. Get to top of tower that is here. And you safe. I know, right? So, yes, it is a challenge. So, I mean, of course, one of the things that I've criticized the shows for having not great challenges, is this a challenge that is good? Okay, it's a challenge that is Why is it a challenge that is I think the concept of the challenge is pretty solid. However, I do think that the... I personally, okay, this is entirely a personal opinion. I think a majority of people tell you it's fine. However, in a personal opinion, I think, in the same way that hosts call it lazy for a flying contestant to just fly their way up, right? In the same way that they call it lazy, I think that it's lazy for a writer to write a challenge and then not have it factor in everybody. I think that's lazy. I think that's like, you have flying contestants on your show. Make a challenge that can include them, you know? Like, it's just not great. It's like, oh, you can fly. You just can't have them do anything interesting, you know? It's like when I was talking about GOEFAV, right? And it was like, they have the magic people that have magic powers, but then the show doesn't ever allow the magic people to use their magic. And it's like, well, what's the point of the character trait then? You know, it's kind of one of those things. So personally, I dislike it. However, like, that's the only reason. In terms of the challenge, I think it's relatively solid because it's kind of one of those challenges that's super hard. Like, it's impossible to glance, right? There's no way to just do it. You kind of have to need to be a really good thrower, but even then, you can't throw everybody up because like then you need to get yourself up there, right? Unless a flying contestant threw you, technically, right? Because then they could throw and then they could fly. All right, because they can bring themselves up, technically, right? So, they can do a bunch of stuff. What would I do? I would probably Okay, it depends on what team, but I think the best idea is to probably just stack, right? Like, just do as, like, is it to stack? I mean, I don't know how big the tower is, but if there's just like if they can just stack, make a ladder or something, kind of like Purgatory style, how they all made the ladder with the freaking sticks, right? Like, they can probably get up. It's probably the easiest method if you're, like, a human, right? But, like, if you have a flying contestant, it'd probably be easier to, like, just grab a shit ton of blocks and just drop them down. Like, yo, climb this. But, in general, it kind of... It's a thing, right? Either way, Team TFF, what are they called? The fierce, what are you, I don't remember. The team, not the good team. The good team, that's the different. The team called good. The team that's won the challenge ended up having the teleporter. Remember this? This is the remember. Do you know this? This is the teleporter from Enemy Stickman. It is famously known to never work properly. But yes, they teleport themselves into a completely different side of the fucking world. So oops. And then they keep teleporting and try to figure themselves out. So yeah, I mean, the thing about it is that they have definitely the best team. As far as as of that challenge, they definitively had the best team, like the strongest team by a mile. Yeah, 2 more members than everybody else. They have like a bunch of stuff happening. They have 2 more members than everybody else. They have a lot of skills, right, and ability, and they have good tactics, right? Because at the end of the day, the tactics of using a teleporter that you have teleported to the top of the tower makes sense. It's a good tactic. I mean, the problem that it doesn't work is a big one, right? At the end of the day, however, it's not like a big, it's not a tactical downfall. It's more just a mechanical downfall, right? However, like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, this is another thing that I criticize, I think, with the Double Lithium, is that, like, I think kind of instinctively, as soon as you see this episode, you're like, this team is losing, because, like, they needed to find a way for this team to lose, because double elimination per team is so harsh. Like, imagine this team doesn't lose, right? And then somebody else loses. This team would have a 4-member advantage on their team, which is insanity. They have to lose to even it out. But at the same time, they're not gonna. But at the same time, it becomes a bit lamer, right? Because, like, the eliminations start going in circles. Like, you lose, then you lose, then you lose. You lose, then you lose, then you lose. Because I think any team lose twice while another team save would just have them be way too weak to handle, right? So it's like, it's kind of a thing. I feel like it ends up as a predictable solution to a problem of, like, oh, this team's gonna be too different, and that, oh, okay, I guess we solve it by just making it the predictable option, right? Anyways, the Cheese Orb has a funny idea, because of course Fernie and Capsule doesn't actually agree on anything, and the only person which this team can globally agree is at least tolerable is the other fella. Then the reviving chainsaw for $3, and they end up using the chainsaw to cut a shit ton of wood, like a lot of it, to make the funny plan, which is interesting. In the meantime, the other team ends up trying to climb. They end up trying to do an idea. Kate ends up doing some convenient lore, like, yo, I got a weird feeling, right? I got a feeling that, like, something's about to go down. Like, I got a feeling that this was, like, useful back in the 1800s, and, like, this is that same bullshit ass feeling you had in episode 1B. Like, how many feelings you gonna have? And in this entire time, I don't know how you haven't clocked that the evil being you saw has the same exact energy that the evil energy that Boxing Glove has now. I don't know how you didn't still clock that, but okay, bro. But yeah, they end up trying to figure out how to do something, and they're like, yo, who's the strongest? It's Bossing Glove. However, yeah, Bossing Glove is going to not help you out. I can assure you of that. So they end up having, Poop end up teleporting themselves up, because they can do that. However, everybody else, yeah, it's not going great. I'm not gonna lie. The teleporty teams end up continuing to drop their teleporty. However, Vanny eventually ends up getting left behind in some place. I don't know what place, but they end up getting behind in some place. Then Soda comes back from a different portal that they managed to, I guess, open down there with Fanta. For some reason, they felt like Fanta should remain here. Yeah, sure. And then they end up having the tactic that they do be a soda. Yes, because they decide, yo, if we shake the soda, it's gonna explode, right? Which means that we can shoot ourselves up. This is not how physics works, but I understand the idea. Look, I feel like, because like it's one of those things where it's like, that's not what happens. Did you know? Like, that's not what happens. Like, it kind of like drips itself down. You know, like that isn't. But it's kind of become global cartoon logic. That is what happens when you shake a bottle and open it. Like, you know. But okay. Like, not even Mentos. You just like, you don't even need to put the Mentos. No, it just you shake it any amount. Okay, bro. But yeah, we end up having everybody use a slingshot. The other team, the cheese orb idea was to build a slingshot. Because Angry Bird, yay! But yes, they end up doing that, and they end up trying to use a slingshot, and you know, it fucking works. It's an excellent slingshot. It gets everybody in third. Everybody played Angry Birds, I guess, in this team. So good job, you did it. Power of friendship, woohoo! But yes, and then. The team that gets up, they, because of using soda and then procedurally Fanta to get up, everybody's up except for Bossing Glove, which they can just kind of hope for the best out here. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah. Either way, eventually we end up having the stairs that drop by. Every team's trying to climb it. However, Bossing Glove is here and starts fighting off everybody. Everybody, you know, tries to do anything to knock off Bossing Glove. Bossing Glove in a bunch of fight scenes just fucking murders everybody. Like, it's rough. It's a rough day out here for literally everybody. Everybody loses like a mass. Like, it's not even close. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, no, it is bad performance from their team. To be fair, they're dealing with a pretty eldritchly being, but I mean, there's a certain point where it's like, you gotta realize, if it's not working by just going over and punching them, do something else, you know, like, can lighter burn the platform? Maybe that would have worked, like, but that would have had a chance working, you know, like something different than just lunging and eventually inevitably falling, right? Yeah, this is not exactly amazing. You need to remember that doesn't matter, in the sense of, like, it would, even if this fella had been knocked off and the team had gone up, Vanny's not here. Vanny's stuck in another fucking universe. No, not in a different land of Earth. It wasn't, so that team wasn't ever going to be safe. But yeah, Bossing Glove eventually got up, and the thing that Bossing Glove does, though, is while they don't actually, like, get is that while the other team wasn't ever going to be safe, the problem is that they get neutralized to an insane degree, because they not only are going to lose 2 members, they proceed to lose 2 members while having an unbelievable, like, triple debuff from this challenge. Like, the Fresh Fighters, like, no, this team gets like a quadra-gazillion debuffs at the same time. They're losing 2 members while having Macy lose the actual stick part, right? So their body. Lighter now literally only has 1 eye, no cap, and is just destroyed. And Vanny's literally nowhere to be seen. It's like, this team has just gone from being the strongest to, in this one challenge, going from being the strongest to making such unbelievable mistakes that they go down to the bottom tier of, like, capability right now. You know? Which is, it's unfortunate for sure, I must admit. But yeah, like, I guess we'll have to see what happens. We're gonna need bandage girl. You're gonna need to come in with some bandages, because this team is wounded. Like, what is happening? But yeah, then the episode ends with the final look at a mushroom on a boat who is looking at a map and is trying to go over to an island. I don't think they're on an island. I think the showgrounds are the green big lands, not the island. So that's interesting. However, it's interesting. Wait, is it? Hold on. No. Oh, I'm picking up the fucking last show. Thinking of the Portuguese show, which had a map very similar to this. No, sorry. Okay, then the showgrounds are probably in that island. But yeah, this mushroom is trying to get there. I don't really know who that is. However, I feel like in the same way when, like, characters show up, like when Vanny and the other characters showed up, I feel like I'm supposed to know them, you know, in the sense of, like, they're probably from a different show. I know that like Kirb's got some other shows going on and all that jazz, right? And all that stuff. So yeah, So okay, my current idea, all right, well, what's happening is that, okay, I believe that after assessing what this state currently is, I'm not gonna watch season 2. I'm gonna be honest, currently not 100% feeling like it. It's short, but I'm not, whatever, it wasn't what I was recommended, and if it gets a new episode, I'll watch it, but, like, in general, it doesn't feel necessary to watch it right now, especially because it would be out of order with what the current season is. In terms of what is going on with this, I don't know. It had a 2-year hiatus between episode 2 and 3, and it's currently on a 10-month hiatus itself. I have no idea if the show is in production. I have no idea if it's getting worked on. I just know that it is taking an exorbitant amount of time per episode. I mean, look, it's not GOEFAV levels of bad, where GOEFAV would have an episode a year for 30 years. At least this would be an episode a year for 15. So, much better. No, but I mean, like, I mean, of course, the main thing that has to happen here is just episodes to come out faster, at the end of the day, right? Like, with object shows, it's all take your time, but it has to be take your time to a certain extent, because at the end of the day, you're taking too much time at some point, right? But yeah, we'll have to see. It was a big episode, and making episodes this caliber, I don't know how hard it is, because I have no idea how hard this is, but especially with, like, the fight scenes and the longer nature and the lore that's starting to drop in, like, I'm feeling that it'd be complicated to do. So I'm starting to get kind of worried, like, yo, are they gonna be able to do it? I don't think they're gonna be able to do it, bruh. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. At least, again, like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I want to believe, but I have been shown no logic of it or believe, like, I've been shown no proof that it would ever work within a correct pace. I've never been shown that. And since I've not been shown that, I can't reasonably trust the show to do its job quickly enough for it to be realistic, right? Like, at the end of the day, I currently can't trust it. Like, of course, what's the main idea? Prove me wrong. Absolutely. Prove it. Take it to heart, Like, yes, I can prove it wrong. I can make the show function, because I currently, at this speed of production and then breaks and then other shows and whatever it is that's happening, it wouldn't be possible. It wouldn't be possible. Not at this speed. It has to go by faster. But, will it happen? I don't know. Are we even working on the show? I don't know. All I know is that I watched it, and it was good. It's definitely enjoyable. Like, I needed a little bit of time to acclimatize to the no thing, to the no VA thing. I always need like an episode or two to acclimatize to it, but especially for episodes like for episodes like 2 and 3 of this, I really got acclimatized to it. The same way that I got acclimatized to, like, the Trinket Trouble or, like, freaking Hotel Object. Like, the same thing happens here. At a certain point, like, I need to get used to it, because I usually expect voice acting. However, as soon as I get used to it, it's smooth experience, right? Like, you kind of watch it at your own pace, and it's really solid. But yeah, that is BTBATE. It's solid. It's good. I enjoy it. It does a lot of fun things, right? Like, it's a show that does fun pretty well. However, yeah, it's currently got itself the task of not taking 2 years per episode. Let's see if it'll succeed. Let's go to whatever the next thing is. It might be an outro, it might be another segment. We'll find out. All right. Alright, I had to do some late things, which means that I won't be doing anything else. Unfortunately, however, I decided that I am going to close off Liminal Latte requests tomorrow. That will be the first thing that we do. So we'll take a look at Season 2. So I decided that I will take a look at Season 2 in that next episode, and then any other shenanigans as well. With requests that, yet again, we're extremely far behind on, but I'm hoping to, try to get to it in due time. But yes, for the shows that we watch, we're pretty much all caught up. Of course, not really on this, because there's a Season 2 that's pretty small, but we're still going to need to watch it. Even though I said in the last session that we're not going to, I've decided I will. Change my mind on it, but yes, this is the video. By the time you see upload, it's gonna be like 3 in the morning. It's gonna be great. And yeah, alright, that is all. See you for the next episode, whatever it is. Alright, goodbye.